Hello, welcome to Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to the Age of Sigmar Monday show with my two co-hosts and once again, AWOL Dan. Are we replacing Dan? Let's find out. I'm joined by Mr. Nathan Prescott and James Powell. Round of applause, please, everyone.
Hello.
Nathan, absolutely fantastic to see you.
Yes.
How are you?
Oh, I'm all right, thank you. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you. I was super happy to send StabbyGit some objective markers, as I can see in the chat. Me and my mate ordered some of the objective markers off you last week. You can find those on our store, by the way. They turned up today. Nice one, boss. No problem. Happy to help.
Cool. Customer service.
Or if we go to the merch grot, Mr. James Powell, who has been responsible for all of the merch that you've ever received from the Wargamer, including this great T-shirt I'm wearing.
Oh, do you remember that?
Do you
remember that period of our
out.
life?
Have you watched season 2 yet?
It is. No, I haven't started yet.
Oh, you're missing out. Well, anyway, so yeah, James, and introducing the merch grot himself, James Powell. Hey, James, how are you?
Yeah, very well. Very well. All the better for seeing you.
The angriest Age of Sigmar gamer in the world. I hate this game. I've been to 14 tournaments this year.
Been hard work.
Don't know if I can
Just
handle
makes me
Sigmar anymore. Okay, James, I've got 2 tournaments next week. I don't know what to do.
Look, people kept asking me, and I'm not good at saying no.
Okay, all right. I'm not criticizing. You know, you do what you need to, bro.
Nice.
What, Nathan? What are you saying?
I just said that was very nice. Yeah, I imagine he liked the game. Fucking hell.
No, imagine how much he played.
Yeah.
Me and James are like a correlation. Like, me and James are like inverse diagrams. James is like, I don't even like this. I'm going to another event. I'm like, I really love this, but I just can't seem to find the time to go to an event. Like, all right, Nathan. An Age of Sigmar crew in the chat. If you listen to this as a podcast or watching this as on YouTube, thanks Hydro Homies. Thanks YouTube Thugs. Big love to you, Nathan. Catch me up. What have you been up to? What's been going on?
I've done a little bit of hobby. Yes, I have. I've changed the weapons on my gore grunters and my brutes. I've given them some spears, or jagged gore hackers, as they're called in real life, so that they get extra rend, less attacks, more rend. That's what we like. Yeah. So and then managed to get a couple of games with the Iron Jaws ready for the weekend. So I played against yourself at Club Night.
That is what.
Yes.
This is what we say now. James, you coming to Club Night? Club.
Yeah, I will at some point.
Club. That's what you have to say every time.
When is it?
Every Tuesday.
Are you going to tell everyone? Every Tuesday.
So if you are local to Nottingham and you would like to come to Club Night, Club, do let us know. The Honest Wargamer Club is small but powerful, like James Powell.
What if I'm not local to Nottingham but want to drive 3 hours to have a game against Nathan Prescott?
You 3 hours from us?
No, I'm not. No, but I mean, I'm talking for the chat.
Oh, then
hypothetical question.
Well, Nathan, would you be down for playing someone who's travelled 3 hours to play you?
Yeah, sure. If they want to go that far, yeah, definitely.
Okay, all right, great.
I like playing Warhammer. Yeah, I'd love to play games of Warhammer. Yeah.
It's such a diverse group. We all love. Two of us like Warhammer. One of us doesn't play that much. One of us plays loads. One hates Warhammer, plays loads. I don't know what's going on anymore. Thanks, Nikki DeWilliams, for resubscribing. And I'm only here for the trademark Nathan Prescott Battle Reports. I agree. Nathan, just because I've been asking you how you are, can you update us with...
Yeah.
You and me did play a game of Warhammer. How did that go?
Yes.
Talk me through it.
Well, yeah, so I am in a team in January, and for some reason... Gits are not on the table apparently.
Awkward.
So we're waiting for the FAQ. As soon as the FAQ comes back, we're fucking back on the table, boys. But I have so I'm looking at Iron Jaws because obviously they're playing the game on easy mode.
Wow.
So yeah, so I've been practicing with my Iron Jaws as you can attest to. So I had a great list.
You did
a powerful list.
You did have a great list. Would you like to talk me through your list and how that game went? Because I'm interested to find out.
Yeah, well, I mean, you
Well,
were
I know,
there.
but
You should know.
the
So
chat will enjoy it.
Shall we move on?
James will want to hear it. We played an Iron Jaws mirror, James, but I'll let Nathan tell the story.
Yeah. I think there was something wrong with the mirror because they didn't look like each other at all. Well, there were two Maw Crushers. So I had a Maw Crusher and you had a Maw Crusher. Your Maw Crusher's your general, mine's
1 second,
not.
Nathan.
So my
Nathan,
list...
1 second. James, stay incredibly still. You did that without moving your mouth. How did you do that?
Hey.
Oh, right, well. Okay.
Wow, you're like a ventriloquist.
Sorry, Nate. Please continue.
Is there a fly or something? It's watching it carefully. Oh, it's gone. Right. Yeah. So we both were from the Iron Sons tribe.
We were,
which is a very nice tribe to belong to if you're an Iron Jaw.
Yep.
But I had I had 2 Warlord battalions because I like to take lots of shiny stuff with me. And the more Warlord battalions, the more stuff you can take. So I've got a Mega Boss on a Maw Crusher.
Very standard.
Yeah, with the Boss Chopper and the Riptooth Fist, so he's got the 3-up save. And then I've also given him the big axe with the red button on the side.
Not that standard, but okay.
Yeah, so the Destroyer one, and obviously the mount is a fast stun.
Standard.
For that, yeah, pretty standard. Yeah, so net list really. Then I've got an Auric War Boss on foot as well.
Very out there. Not very standard at all. I describe that as edgy.
An edgy War Boss on foot. Yeah, and then a War Chanter with the Get 'em beat.
Okay, yeah,
which
standard,
is pretty standard.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, well, net list. Yeah.
Net list.
Then I've got my general, who's an Auric Weird Knob Shaman.
Not standard at all, actually. Why? Okay, not normal. Edgy. We'll give that an edgy rating.
Yeah, so I've made him the general because I want him to be touched by the War.
Okay.
So he is touched by the War. So that means he's the guy that can do D3 mortal wounds to a unit within 6. And then obviously he gets that plus D3 to cast. So that's pretty good.
Is he good touched by the War or bad touched by the War?
Awkward.
It depends on what day of the week it is, I guess, or what. But I would say definitely good. Yeah, good touched.
Good.
In general.
It's important.
95% of the time. It's good touch.
Thank you for helping with the distinction, James. It's appreciated. Thanks, Disco Magma, for resubscribing. And also, just a quick reminder to everyone, this is filmed in front of a live studio audience every Monday night. It starts at 7 p.m. If you want to join us, that's UK time. If you join us 7 p.m. Australian time, we'll be asleep.
No, we're just woken up. 7 a.m. Yeah, ish.
Stop ruining the story.
The other side of the world.
Rob's not up at 7 a.m.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, fair enough. 33% of us will be asleep.
Anyway, go on.
Anyway, so my general's touched by the War. One of the Warlord battalions I've got has given me a spell enhancement. So he's got the great big green hand of Gork, and he's also got the great big green foot of Gork. So I've got a lot of Gork's
How
body
many spells
parts
can he cast?
as well.
1 or 2? But
1.
he knows 2 spells.
So he can choose between. Yeah. So he can choose between those 2. Sometimes you want to hand something. Sometimes you want to foot something.
Mikasa Sukasa.
But sometimes you want to do both. So then I decided if I want to do both, then I should have access to I should have redundancy on those. So I brought another Auric Weird Knob Shaman.
So most people don't take 1. No one takes 2. Taking 2 is seen as weird.
No, it's a weird knob. So obviously spell enhancement. So I've got the Foot of Gork on that because that's the best spell. So I've got to have redundancy with that. So 2 foots of Gork. Uh, and a Basham Lad spell as well, which is quite nice, but obviously that's in your back pocket if you run out of trying to cook things. And then I thought, well, it would be good to have redundancy, some more redundancy. So I got another a War Chanter.
Two are fairly standard.
And then with and then with the other Warlord battalion, I gave him the Arcane Tome, the Wizarding hat, basically.
So 3 wizards in your non-wizard based fighting army.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay.
And so he's got the great big green hand of Gork. So now I've got options with hands, and then I also gave him the Basham Lads. And he's also got the fixing beat in case he wants to fix something.
All right, excellent. Okay.
So yeah,
and then
got loads of things.
And then
to
I
do.
assume loads of pigs because that's what everyone takes.
Well, I've got 3 pigs, so that's quite a lot. It's a lot more than one. It's like 3 times more than one pig. So yeah, I got 3
context.
pigs.
3 pigs in your house, a lot of pigs. 3 pigs in your Ironjaw's army, not that many pigs.
Well, I've got 1 unit of 3 of those lads. And now they've got the Jagged Gore Hackers. Proper nice for running around stabbing things.
Mm-hmm. And then what else?
But they don't count as battle line, so they're a unit on its own. And then, so my battle line is 15 Ard Boys.
Okay.
5 Ard Boys.
Okay.
10 Auric Brutes with the Jagged Gore Hackers. And then 5 Brutes just with a pair of Brute Choppers.
Okay, not Gore Hackers. Why not Gore Hackers?
Because I haven't swapped the weapons on them yet, so I'll probably give them Gore Hackers at some stage because their N2 is a very beautiful thing.
Good.
So, yeah.
And how did our game go?
Yeah, it went pretty good. We played the Vice, so that's probably not the best one for Ironjaws in general. So because I had probably the least net listy Ironjaws army, it was the best one for me. No, yeah, I managed to win a priority role, which meant I got to charge things, and so I charged things and duffed them up.
You did. You murdered all of my pigs on turn 3 after the priority roll. It's actually really interesting because one of the Ironjaws list I was running was 2x6 pigs, some 3x5 Ard Boys at the back. It's the list Darren ran at Thingy, which was Leo's list, which he talked about on the show. The Rogue Idol and then the Maw Crusher. The interesting element about it is like my army just wanted to smash, and I wouldn't mind like charging most screens. But this was such an interesting situation because like you had the Ard Boys as a screen, like 2 units of Ard Boys, and the problem is if I charged it, I would wipe out the screens definitely, but then you would countercharge me with your units. And it was so good.
Yep.
Like I was like, because a lot of the lists that you're seeing online at the minute are those kind of like double Maw Crusher, loads of pigs. Like you don't really see anyone putting any point. They're going for like an extra unit of pigs. They don't go for like that screening unit. But that screening unit gave you the advantage because you were slower. But you could basically be like, cool, I can afford to let you hit me. But even more so than another army where you screen, if you don't know, Iron Suns, they have a command ability, so you can countercharge. So the whole time I was just dancing around like, oh boy, I don't want to put my pigs in the grinder, is how I felt.
Yeah. And also having Hand of Gork.
No,
like
that isn't
quite a reliable
No, that
Hand of
isn't
Gork.
helpful. What you did,
James,
that was not helpful. What he did, James, was he Hand of Gorked, which is cast on a what, Nathan?
On a 7.
He Hand of Gorked a weird knob shaman to then in the midboard.
Other one. So I used 1 to Hand of Gork.
So you used
the other
a
one.
1-cast wizard he spent 140 points on to Hand of Gork another wizard.
No. It's only 90
points. Okay, 90 points, whatever.
Points.
To Hand of Gork another wizard. And then, once he'd done that, cast Foot of Gork, which does loads of mortal wounds, which is cast on a what?
On a 10.
On a 10.
Yes.
Yes.
And did all that go off?
It did, and he killed 3 pigs. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
No, I killed
Oh, yeah, you
5
did. You
hard
killed
boys.
5 hard boys. Yeah,
That's
you
all,
did.
yeah.
You did. You lose like 15 mortal
Yeah.
wounds. But it was very upsetting. But that isn't why your list is good, right? It was the screens. It wasn't because of the wizard.
Double weird
No,
knob.
that's not what was
That's
good
what you
about
want in
it.
your life.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway,
Anyway,
it was fun.
yeah. Anyway, I got to play another game with it. I played against Nick Thompson from WS10, and I played against his Stormcast army, which was a cool game. Yeah, pretty good. Really tight. I didn't win.
Didn't your pigs charge like 22 in that game?
Yeah, I picked up 2 dice to roll, and one of them, I got a 17 and a 5. That was great. It was best charge I've done ever.
Okay, great news.
Yeah, because I picked up a D20 by mistake.
James, I'm with you. I might
yeah.
hit Warhammer 2. Is my follow up.
Good. Join the club.
I was like, what are you doing? Anyway, it doesn't matter. James, you were meant to play at a tournament this weekend, right?
I was.
Yeah. Thanks for the game, by the way, Nathan. It was obviously super fun. I had a great time. I got to use the new app, didn't I?
Yes, you did. You scored it on the app, and I got to use one of the fancy new Iron Jaws battle tactics.
You did.
And that was even on the app as well. Yeah, smash all the puny gits. It's there
Not
on the app.
Age of Sigmar app.
So you can do it. No, not on that app. Can't find it anywhere on that app, but I can find it on the Bruce app.
The Bruce app. James, 2 questions. One, how do you feel about you not being able to find White Dwarf updates? So if you guys aren't aware, just for everyone at home, there are White Dwarf updates to, I think at this point, Sons of Behemoth, Cities of Sigmar, Seraphon, Slaves to Darkness, and yeah, those ones, those White Dwarf updates. But even the Battle Tome, so there, as far as I'm aware, none of those are in the app. But the Battle Tome battle tactics are also not in the app. How do you feel?
Well, I've used I've read the Stormcast ones, and they're rubbish. So
you don't care?
No, I honestly think, like, I know we talked about that before, but I honestly think, like, scrap all those. Just play with the core. What is that? 6, 8, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, just play with the core 8. Be done with it.
Okay.
Because some of them are dumb. Like that giant one where it's like just kick an objective backwards is a lot easier than the Stormcast one that's like get a Cities of Sigmar unit to cap an objective on like turn 4, and I'm like, oh, there's not one in my list. But if I'm playing Gargants, there's definitely a giant in there. So
yes, 100%. Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about this already. It kind of talked about this when I reviewed them, but it pigeonholes your army even more. Those battle tactics, like the Stormcast one. There's also one like do it with a dragon.
Yep. I mean that as of next week might be useful, but up until now.
Well, that's what I was about to ask you. Have you gone and got yourself any dragons?
I brought some dragons.
Did you do the whole dragon army?
Oh yeah.
Dragons?
Well, technically, I have a whole dragon army.
Okay.
You'll probably moan about the build of that dragon army.
Please inform us.
So I brought 8 dragons.
Yep.
2 are larger than the other 6.
Oh yeah, you bought the 2 big fellas.
Yeah.
Oh God. Someone on Twitter asked me, it was like, Rob, I want to get the new dragons. What's the list? And I said, well, buy these, then don't buy the new dragons and add these other ones on as well. But no, I mean, it's exciting. Were you inspired, James, by all of the paint jobs, by the content creators who've been giving them ahead of time? Did that fill you with were you like, that's cool to see other people get stuff way ahead of me, a paying customer? That's fun. That's inspired me to want to buy them.
It didn't inspire me to want to buy them. I wanted some anyway. I have to say, none of them inspired me to paint mine in any specific way other than what I'll probably do anyway. There was a couple that I really liked, most nondescript.
Oh, interesting. Nathan, did you happen to see the paint job? Twitch chat, same question.
I saw some dragons on Twitter, but I didn't. I noticed some people were saying they got them, and some people were pretending they got them or something. I don't know what was going on. There was dragons. They were all right. But yeah, I'm painting squigs, so that's better.
I mean, obviously, they're just better dragons, right? Thank you to the untalented hobbyist for subscribing for the first time. Congratulations, you're not an untalented hobbyist. You're doing really well. Yeah? Everyone's proud of you.
I hope he's glued a whole model the wrong way. But not on purpose. But just to his head.
It's called a conversion. Yeah. Oh, glued a model to his head. That's different type of conversion.
So
yes.
James,
Yeah.
The follow-up bit of question I have for you is: you were meant to play a tournament this weekend. How did it go?
I didn't play a tournament this weekend because Warhammer World was covered in the excrement of other people. Not mine. I haven't been in a long time.
You've been saving it up.
Was that you?
And now they cancelled the tournament.
I don't think I've been to Warhammer World in over a year now.
Oh, really?
Maybe almost 2.
Interesting.
In fact, the last time I might have gone was with you.
With me?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What a great time. We should go again. It's near me.
We should one day when it's open.
Yeah. It's open now. They opened on Saturday.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was nice of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't play. And also, like, as it is now a meme, I had played a lot of Warhammer.
Mm-hmm.
And so we debated playing some more, but then Meg was really sick, so I decided to take the weekend off.
Yeah, good.
Oh.
Did you have? I hope she's okay, by the way.
Yeah, she's fine.
Good. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was good. I played one game of Warhammer because I think James Hobbs had withdrawal symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And he beat me. So he was playing a jokey list, but we rolled for a battle plan and we played one from the matched play General's Handbook. I don't think I've ever played, which is the you can only score with a leader one.
Oh yeah, nope.
Which is terrible.
I've played that one. I played it against Gargans. It was possible because they did their own thing. I had to do these. I could only score in special type of way. They were just like, yeah, we'll just do whatever we want, and they scored gazillions.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because it scored that new way, and then the old one was painful to play when you had to have a leader, but the new one is just worse. And I'm not even sure why. As I was playing, I was like, this works worse than the one previously. But I'm not really even sure what in my head made it feel that way. It just felt worse. But we had a nice time. Obviously, James has been on the T-Sports a fair few times, and we play together a lot. So that was nice. We had a laugh.
Such a good-looking man.
He's got that beautifully converted Bastion. So that attacked me. I had a Bastion. He had a Bastion. Bastion shouted at Bastions. Neither Bastion killed the other Bastion. But yeah, it was good. So we did that, and then Meg convinced me to go to the German market in Birmingham, which I hate. I'm going to be honest. It's always too busy.
Don't be like that.
So we did that. But actually, it snowed, and that was nice. Nice to be out in the snow, like some snow.
It was cute.
Ah, so it's like a fairy tale in the German market in Birmingham.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was nice.
Oh, nice.
So,
okay, well, good. I'm glad that you're both. It sounds like you're both in a chipper place. That's lovely. Twitch chat, today's show, YouTube thugs and podcast homies. Today's show, we're going to be talking about Nathan and James. We kind of want to know a little bit about the stats. We did the stats earlier So they want to ask me some
Yes.
questions about them, which I think is which I'm going to go through and show you guys on stream. Also, there's a main subject of the show, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, which is the one rule Warscrolls. There's been an article published in White Dwarf from the game designers about Age of Sigmar, and that's going to be the main subject of our show because actually. I think it's pretty rubbish, but I'm going to talk to you guys about it and see how you all feel, basically. Especially all of you Lumineth players, because you definitely don't have one rule on your war scroll, unless it's a rule and then it says, in addition, in addition, in addition. You know, it still seems like 17 rules somehow. Which is fun. Thanks, Percussive Scruff, for resubscribing. So that's what we're going to talk about today, if that's cool with you guys.
Works for me.
All right.
Yeah,
nice. Well, let me don my jacket. Okay. All right. Stats. So we did the stat show earlier, which is pretty cool. Also, actually, James, before we do that, you do remember that you own Earth 2.
Always.
So, not Earth 2. Sorry, Games Workshop on Earth 2. For you guys that might not remember, there's a third-party AR app that James bought. Imagine the metaverse. But James already bought Games Workshop in the metaverse many a moon ago. We bought it for how much did we buy it for? Like £1, £2?
No, it was like 25 quid.
And how much is it now worth?
Wow, how much is it worth really, or how much is it worth to me? It's currently worth about $2,000.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but in dollars.
Oh, okay. But I mean, that's a good meme, though. It's a good meme. Imagine how living. Have you thought about contacting Games Workshop to sell it?
Oh, it's for sale. So if anyone from Games Workshop's listening, it's up for sale on Earth 2. You go to earth2.io. Other metaverses are probably available. But there isn't a Warhammer World on there, I guarantee it. If they'd like to buy it, I've renamed it Warhammer World, so it's ready for them. And they can buy it for $100,000.
Oh, okay. Because how much is it worth to you?
Yeah, $100,000. That's what I'm asking.
Amazing. Okay, great. All right, so the stats. So Nathan and James. Nathan, I'm sure you want to know, but do you want to ask any questions about the stats? James, you got any questions about the stats?
Well, I missed the stats show, but then I heard there were 2 stats shows. How come there were 2?
Because really the Stat Center show that we do on a Monday isn't really a Stat Center show. Like, it's really, we just talk about the event results from the weekend. But Rob and Ziggy put all the stats together. It's actually a lot of data to put together from Sunday night into Monday morning. I spend portions of my Sunday night and Monday morning just reviewing the lists before I talk about them on Monday day. So then later on, the actual statistics using actual numbers take a huge amount of time to put together. So
the first show was more like, these are the scores from the weekend. Wimbledon Wanderers 3, Leyton Orient 5, etc., etc.
Can I just say something?
And
it feels like you're suggesting you might not know what the content of one of the shows is, which I do every week for more than a year. And you featured on.
No, I've seen that show. Yeah. That's the one that you normally do with Owen Jackson.
That's the one.
Show. Yes. Okay.
Right.
Cool. But then you thought that it was worth having a different show to do the breakdown of whatever happened, all the number crunching show. Awesome. Cool.
So the number crunch. So we've done the results show. So do you want? Would you like to know any numbers that you seek, and I, like an oracle, shall find said numbers?
Can I ask one?
Yeah, James, please feel free.
What percentage of Iron Jaws players have 3 wizards?
None. 0%, James. Yeah.
I mean, that's already wrong. We know that Nathan has 3 wizards.
Fuck. Nathan.
This is a future stat.
It's a future stat. The thing is Rob and Ziggy have tried their hardest to get the stats to this level. We don't know that information yet. It's too much.
I know. I was just winding you up.
I know.
So the level of details mainly about games.
That's where we can get really fucking spicy if you want.
Yeah.
Like-
Show us
All
the
right.
spice.
Okay. Well, should we? Well, okay. We'll do Gloom Spike Gits. How does that sound, Nathan?
Painful for Nathan.
I'm all up for hearing about the top performing faction.
Okay.
Yes.
So they're actually the worst performing faction.
What? You've got the graph upside down, haven't you?
So to give you a quick update, they're at 31% win rate.
Nice.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah,
Well, it's actually
yes.
technically the worst.
Okay, that's bad then.
and
In fact,
then
they're
Beast of
half
Chaos.
Fair enough.
Gargants.
Beast of Chaos are the second worst, 34%.
Nice.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Happy with that?
Where's Well, not really. Oh, there I can see it now on the picture.
Just
Right. Okay. So 31. So it ranges from 31 to
60%.
what's the
Sons
top
of
one there?
Behemoth,
The
60%.
60. Right. Okay. So we've got some catching up to do. I see.
you got some games to win, Nathan.
Put those
Yeah.
eye jaws down, Nathan. You need to start.
Yeah. Fuck. I should be taking the gits this weekend. Oh well.
James, have you got any questions about like the win rate before we move on?
Yeah, just interestingly, so in there I can see Bone Splitters. Are they? Do we class those as a faction anymore? Is that the sub faction in the new book, or is that from?
No, technically you're right, but like I personally think and have always thought that those three, now four sub factions are so independent. Like they basically have their own allegiances, right? Like so I like, and their allegiance abilities or their sub faction allegiance abilities are as detailed, if not more detailed, than the Stormcast Eternals one. So I'm just like, I personally am making the distinction to break them out.
Okay, that was just curious because I could see Bone Splitters.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, can I also?
Yeah.
Cool.
So what we're saying is a sub faction of a book is better than 2 entire army books.
Well, yeah, and like Nicky DeWilliams says, yeah, the Bone Splitters also do have their own sub factions, if you know what I mean. So it's not a whole book.
Oh yeah.
You're right. Gits and Beasts of Chaos do have whole books. In fact, quite interestingly, I think there are more Gits units in the Gits book than there are actually in the whole Uruk War Clans book, which is actually 4 armies, all of which are better than the Gits book.
Nice. Even Khorne's better. I mean, that's disappointing, Nathan. You might want to talk to them Gits.
Yeah, it's all subjective what better is, surely. Or is it?
Yes, correct. All right. And you can also see the.
At least we're better than
Sorry.
Chaos Dwarves. At least we're better than
dead.
Chaos Dwarves.
We're dead, and it's all over. Right. So, but if we look at this next sheet, which you guys should enjoy, yeah, you'll see. Gloomstrike Gits is a tough one because they don't have any sub factions. So we might move to James. Give me another one that's not Stormcast or Gits.
Give me Cities of Sigmar.
Oh, okay. It's a bit of a
No,
problem,
not
isn't it?
Cities of Sigmar.
Lumineth.
Okay, give me. I mean, I did give you that. You chose it, but okay.
Wink,
All right, we'll
wink,
do Zinj.
nudge, nudge.
Should we do Zinj?
No, I want Lumineth now.
Okay, all right. Right, so you can see
You
the
get
win rate.
salty while you tell me.
So you can see the win rate on the screen, right?
Yeah.
But then we also break that down into sub-factions. So, James, you were talking about sub-factions earlier.
Yep.
So if you want to look at the different sub-factions, you're able to. So you can see that, like, Zytrek, for instance, yeah, has got a 59% win rate versus 57 for Zytrek. But then Helon is 58. Sire is actually 61. So technically, thank you very much, Bad Posture Painting, for resubscribing. And also, I think I also saw someone else resubscribe. Yeah, Percussive Scruff. Thanks, babes. You can see that the different sub-factions perform differently, with Sire getting a 61% win rate, so they're slightly better. Yeah. So I thought you'd like that. So if you want to look at any, is there any armies you think sub-factions might be different? Or have you got any thoughts on, or anything you'd like to ask?
Yeah. So so Alumnia.
Yes.
Don't know what it does.
Okay.
Not going to pretend I do.
Yeah.
But that is 10% lower than the next one.
Yes, I mean it's not as popular, obviously, but it is much worse as
But
a
it's more.
sub-faction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do we think it's just a worse sub-faction?
Yes,
Is that okay?
basically. Well, the interesting thing also is 91% of Lumineth lists have a battle regiment.
Okay.
Now,
Is that most armies
Wow.
though? Have a
no,
battle regiment.
actually,
Oh.
I can flip the script on that for you, and I'll go to Fire Slayers, right? And because Fire Slayers, like Nathan, like a lot of characters which are useless, yeah, they have most popular battalion is actually a Warlord because the army plays differently. They want a
Yeah.
bunch of units and they want more artifacts, so they go for the Warlord.
Nice.
Yeah. So like that's an interesting kind of breakdown because we haven't been able to look at this stuff before. It's all going to be on the Honest Wargamer website, by the way, for everyone to check out. But the bit that might
Cool. So can you sort? Sorry, can you sort by like the battle regiments? Can you use that as a sorting thing as opposed across factions? Shows you which faction likes battle regiments.
no,
most,
you'd have to go to
etc.
the detailed sheet for each faction and work it
Yeah.
out. But
for
yeah,
each
like
faction. Yeah. Well, I mean, I reckon those elves have got it at 91%. They must love it. All standing together, like deploying together.
maybe.
They must love that
It's
stuff.
been brought up in the chat
Yeah.
that this might not be as accurate as MetaWatch. So it was, and it finished my question. This is a serious
Yeah,
one.
sorry.
At what point would this tell me I could use at the double or unleash hell on the screen? So I'm looking at the stats.
Yes.
But it doesn't tell me to use unleash hell.
It doesn't tell you when to do this at all in here. Interestingly, I
Oh.
don't know.
So it's probably not as statistically accurate as MetaWatch.
Safe to say. Safe to say
Good.
it's not.
I was just checking.
Safe to say.
I like so the
Don't
matches.
forget, you're not winding me up. You're winding up Ziggy and Rob, who've worked really hard. Yeah. So.
No, I think they'll take the J. The matches played. So that's from all the tournaments you've covered.
No.
people
This
that
is
have submitted.
no. This is from most. Some events didn't go in because they had soft comp or a team event or some other bits. But this is from most 5-day events we've had since Age of Sigmar 3 launched. 65 tournaments, 6,767 games.
That's a terrifying amount of games, eh?
Cool. That's crazy. Do you have like head to head?
Sure, baby. What do you want? Talk to me.
Whoa! Before we go,
Uh,
hang on. Sorry. Before we go to the next screen.
Yeah.
Oh, you've gone.
No, it's okay.
I just wondered. So there was 6,735 matches.
Yeah, 6,767 matches.
So
yeah.
So is there a button somewhere you can click that shows us that 3,000 of those matches were played by Aaron Jackson? Because he is everywhere.
I can. If we actually go to the faction review and we click OCR Bone Reapers, we can actually see that 77% of those games were played in Petrifex Elite. It doesn't say with Nagash, but you assume that they're Owen Jackson, right?
Yes, that's fair. I'm glad to know. I was just curious.
I thought you might want to see that. Interestingly, do you guys have any thoughts on why? I think I've worked out why. 9 tournaments in a row, boys. In 9 weekends. Go in, Owen, in the chat. Owen.
I think he's coming to the tournament that I'm at.
And
this
maybe
weekend.
me.
Well, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's at all the tournaments.
Yeah, he can't not
that
play a
everybody
tournament,
goes
right?
to.
Who? The champion
When
of
he's
Bobo?
at 2 simultaneously.
The champion of Bobo.
You can just.
That is true.
Yeah, the Bobo champion. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're at a tournament, you'll see Owen Jackson. Basically, that's what we're saying.
If you don't see him,
That's what the stats say.
that's a different sheet. Yeah. Yeah. So that's OCR. So you wanted a head-to-head, Nathan, or what else did you want?
Yeah. Go on. What's head-to-head, say, Seraphon versus Gits?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, interestingly, we can just do all of Gits. So we've got a sheet that just shows you literally Gits versus everyone, if that makes you feel better. Yeah.
Really? Oh, okay. So who are the best against?
Okay, so Gloomspike Gits. Who are they best against?
Yeah.
Bone Splitters.
Yeah. cool.
And Beast of Chaos.
But no,
Beast of
that's
Chaos.
not actually true. Oh no, it is true. You're right, James. 57% of the time you'll beat Beast of Chaos.
Oh, really? So
That maggot king
they're
of
worse than
Nurgle.
them. But
You haven't beat Maggotkin of Nurgle any times ever.
It's how many
ever,
games?
never.
Only
ever.
7, James.
Okay.
Okay. However, you have played Sons of Behemoth 22 times, and you've only
Yes.
won You've only won
And?
14% of those.
That's quite impressive. I'm actually impressed at that statistic. I don't even know how that happened.
Okay. Well, against Owen Jackson and the OCR Bone Reapers, the Gits
Yes.
have a 9% win rate.
Yeah, it's tough. I've lost to Owen Jackson actually with the Gits, so I can believe
It's,
that one.
Not the easiest.
Yeah.
So I guess a real.
So what was it versus Seraphon?
Sorry,
then?
versus Seraphon. Where is Seraphon? 43%.
Yeah,
23
I
games.
thought they were pretty good against that.
Yeah, and 23 games, so quite a lot. Guani Gumo, thank you very much for being a first-time chatter in the chat. Love first-time chatters, and also everyone who's tuned in for 4 years. You guys are the best. He says, utmost importance is the Spider Fang matchups. Okay, so I think there is a way. I don't know. Forgets. This is kind of a follow-up. So I can. There is a Grim Scuttle-Tide win rate, and it's 35%.
And only
What?
6% of people are playing them.
Yeah, yes, they're not the most popular of sub-factions.
Maybe everyone's got arachnophobia.
Yeah, that's fair.
As a weird side note,
Mm.
if anyone's played the game Grounded,
Okay.
which is excellent,
Okay.
the spiders are terrifying, so maybe those spiders should go and learn from those spiders.
Okay. Maybe.
And also,
Yeah.
as a really
Yeah.
inclusive game, if you've got arachnophobia, you can put a little slider on it, turns the spider into a floating blob. Then you don't have to be scared.
Oh, that's cute.
What?
Got to be inclusive, Nathan. Like this show.
I might do that
Okay.
next week.
Yeah.
I might do that
Cool.
next week at Leicester GT if I get like drawn against Zinch or something. I might be like, oh, I actually have demon phobia, so can I change my pairing?
Can they just be bases?
Can I change my pairing, please? I've got.
Those elves smell funny. Can I play against something else,
It's
please?
offending me. So that's Gits. Now, a little interesting thing here on the side. Oh, Nathan, there's another interesting kind of Git stat, actually, which
Yes.
isn't the best news. But as you can see here on the screen, so the meta representation, like how popular an army is. So Git's actually a 2.5% of the meta. So they're more popular than Nighthaunt, Khorne, Fireslayers, Cruel Boys, Legion of Chaos Ascendant, Flesh Eater Courts, Slanesh, Beast of Chaos, Big White, and Bone Splitters. So they're more popular than all of those.
Right. They're not anywhere near the bottom, are they? They're bottom half. They're mid-table, bottom half of mid-table.
However,
Fair enough. That's not bad for an army that doesn't.
Well,
perform very
exactly.
well,
So I have this thing called the PWP.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you? I'm sorry to hear that. Is there a cure?
So PWP, or PWRP, I
Yes.
guess. PWRP.
PWRP. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a different matter. Also, yeah.
Which I
Congratulations.
would like you
yeah.
to quote when you're playing tournaments at the weekend. You'd be like, actually, the PWRP of this is, and that's your opportunity. This is your opportunity to quote the positive win rate potential. Okay.
Right. Okay. What's
so
that? What does that
So you know,
even?
James, I'm going to ask you. You know, when you go to an event, are you happy if you win 3 games, i.e., win more games or have a positive win rate than you are if you only win 2?
I'm probably a bad thing because I don't really care. But I think like winning's generally nicer. Like people generally enjoy winning more I don't think you can remove that from people. So I think most people, I would say, aim for a 3-2, right?
I would say that's
Yeah.
like you would feel comfortable with your weekend if you went away with a 3-2, right?
Yeah, because it's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we play 5 games, not 6. Like 3 and 3 would be like dead mid road, but 3 and 2 is like positive over negative.
Yeah. Whereas 2-3 is a bit like, oh, sad face.
Yeah. Well, I think it's negative
Yeah.
over positive.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. Eh?
Yeah. So that being
Yeah.
the case, I was like, okay, well, what is the likelihood or what's the percentage so far for an army to have a positive win rate potential, i.e., win 3, 4, or 5 games at a tournament? Okay. So if you play Gits,
Yeah.
Nathan, the likelihood
Yes.
that you're going to have a positive win rate potential is, let me just look up the chart. Okay, 17%.
Oh, we're at the bottom again. How did that happen? 17%.
Yes.
Okay, so if I play 100 tournaments, in 17 of those, I'll win 3 out of 2 games. 3 out of 5. Okay. I've got a lot more tournaments to get.
You've got a
go
lot
to
more.
then, yeah.
Whereas, James, if you were
Yep.
to take Sons of Behemoth to tournament, you have a 68, nearly 70% chance of having a positive win rate potential.
Nice.
It's pretty.
Is there like a negative connotation to that at all? I guess. Does that make your life easier, or does that make you go to a tournament and expect more of yourself?
It's a good point, actually. I don't know. I think it's a really good point. How do you, James, like, if you ever played with an army that you knew was very, very good, and, like, I know you're not generally too fussed about how you place, but 7th place at Bobo would say that you're trying quite hard. So my question is, like, have you ever felt, like, pressure? Do you know what I mean? Like, because you've been playing a stronger army.
Do you know, hilariously, so I might have talked about it last week. I can't remember because I know I've spoke about it somewhere. But like a little bit, like I wrote that Stormcast list and it was supposed to be a bit of a joke because I just wanted to take the 3 big heroes. And then I think there was a point like as I played those 2 one-dayers the week before and the list had done quite well. And then I came to Bobo and I was like, oh no, this is doing better than I anticipated. And then I think like going into my last game, I was like, I'm high, and this list was supposed to be stupid, but you know, like you grow attached to the little models, and I was like, oh, these 3 heroes are looking at me, and now they have to perform. So I think like at that in that last game, I was like, I can't let these 3 down. I have to actually play, and I think. For me, and I know people's reasonings would be different, but I think like there was a little part of me that went into that and I was like, oh, I want to do well. And so I think like it only came about when I was like, oh, this list performs better than the hilarity it was supposed to be of just taking the 3 heroes because I'm indecisive and couldn't make my mind up. So I think if I'd have gone and chose, let's say, because was a positive win rate potential. So if I went and said, oh, I'm going to buy Daughters of Cain army, or Daughters of Cain, because they're not quite top, but they're quite high. I think like then maybe I look and I go, oh, well, I'm supposed to do well.
Yes.
Whereas if I take Gits, I'm like, cool, I'm already up against it. So every win is like a little mark on the wall for the underdog. Whereas I think if I'm Daughters of Cain, I'm like, oh, I'm up with the big boys. I have to perform well.
Yeah.
Because it's already down on there.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. I hadn't really considered. I guess if you're a Sons of Behemoth player, I guess you can mess it up. Like somehow.
I think anyone can mess it up, right?
I guess so.
Oh yeah.
And your dice can mess up sometimes. Harder, I think.
Yeah.
Harder, like I think there's points in games where you're like, oh, I have to make this charge to get onto an objective. I think it's probably a bit harder when your base is like the size of an objective to maybe avoid it. But if people have screened well and you're new, like I think if I'm new and I'm like, right, what's good? I'm competitive and I'm new and I'm like, right, what's good? Sons of Behemoth, don't even know what they are. What do I buy? 4 big things. Cool. Do I understand the game? No. have I brought models, painted them, gone to an event 3 weeks in? Yes. And then I think you play, Owen Jackson, who's 9,932 events under his belt in 6 weeks. Like, not getting tabled's probably hard, especially when he's hand of dusting you.
What's happened?
Nothing. It's a joke because I'm hoping Owen's still in the chat, because the other week he was moaning about losing to a Sons of Bahamut army, and I said, well, why didn't you just hand of dust them? That's only 4 turns. And he shouted, I can't hand of dust them. I said, I know, and ran.
You ran away. All right, there's something to that, Nate. 'Cause Nathan, I don't think you
Yes.
plan to play lower tier armies because it gives you a safety net. I think it's because you're, I mean this with love, a belligerent fuck is my main thoughts.
What?
So how do you feel at any point like under pressure? Because you're going to be playing with Iron Jaws this weekend at Leicester GT, right? You're going to that event. So the internet and everyone says that they're very good. So
so there's definitely more pressure to get a positive, what's it called, potential positive win rate. So the pressure's on now, whereas with the Gits there's no pressure. Although the reason, that's not the reason why I choose the Gits. It's just because I like my little Gits, which is why I'm painting some more of the squigs. Because they're just great. Look at that guy; he's got such a smiley face. You can't see it because of my stupid background.
How have you not painted all of the squigs already?
He brought more.
No, well, I got 3 more, so that I could bump because I've got some like odd numbers. So now I've managed to bump like all the odd numbers up to make an extra unit. So now I can take an extra unit of squigs and drop maybe some grots or something.
Excellent. 17%. Just going to put that there. Not that that means anything. Like, I'm comfortable with you taking it. I just think because the reason I asked for the guys to create the stats, James, was specifically because of like new people, right? So like the kind of like thing that Polygeek is saying in the chat, real Polygeek, which I can kind of like understand and agree with, is like pick the army that you like and just run with it, right? Just enjoy yourself, have a good time, like pick the army you like, but at the end of the day, going to an event is like, or even if you don't go to an event, if you drop a couple of £100 or several £100s on an army and you're playing it down at club, right? You might be like, I've only got these dudes and I lose a lot. Like, it's all right when you go away at the weekend and you're having a laugh with the lads, but you've done a hard day at work and it's club night or a game at your local or whatever, and then your mate's like, I've got the new dragons, and you're like, I've still got the squigs, I reckon. It'd be like, could you not kill me? That'd be super nice if you could just not kill me. And I think that's kind of the point, because there isn't a huge disparity. It's just some of the armies really, really struggle, like Khorne and Beast of Chaos, Slanesh, Big War, Skaven, Nighthaunt, Stormcast, and Sylvaneth, although Stormcast is an older book issue. So, like, that's just kind of really why I got the guys to put it together, because I think actually it's really nice to know that. Is there any on there, James, if you had the opportunity to look at them, any on there that surprised you? Or Nathan, any on there that surprised you? Because some people are always a bit surprised by it.
I think the most surprising cities, but I also think that's one of those armies that lots of people had access to or have access to if they've played the hobby for a long time. And there's so many builds and lists. And then every time I've ever seen one, someone either has to play it like impeccably or badly.
Yes, that's actually one of those. I need a name for that. If anyone can come up with one. Sometimes there are books where they've got lots and lots of units. See, this is a good example. And there's one killer build inside that book, but everything else is just like, it's literally one list. There it is written out. And then everything else is like, why am I here? What am I doing? Steam tanks. why do hydras? Why do you exist? Etc. Like, why do they exist?
Charybdis.
Carib why? That didn't work. A unicorn list. Oh, I like that, Smitty Pence. Thank you. That's good.
No, they killed them.
National animal of Scotland, if some people are not aware of that.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Fun fact. Rob's
I mean,
fact.
obviously, Rob's facts, about unicorns. Rob's unicorn facts, or Scottish facts.
Go on, Dave. Carry on.
No, well, I mean, obviously, the Auric Warclans book is still fairly new, so they'll probably
I'm doing a show
settle
on that tomorrow.
higher up.
Mm.
Yeah, cool. That'd be good. Yeah, and like you say, with the cities, obviously, there's just the wide range. Like, a lot of people are going to just take more narrative or less competitive builds out of that.
Yeah. Well, it's all from events, right? So you assume most of them are like intended to be tournament lists, if not. Anyway, so yeah, you're right. So that's kind of an interesting bit of the stats which you guys will be able to look at. They'll all be on the Honest Wargame website. So this is where we get into the meat and potatoes, which I think might make you a bit mad here. So this little section. So I've obviously explained these already, but I want to know what you two think, because...
Hang on, what sort of mad? Angry mad, or just like Doc Brown from Back to the Future mad?
I'll go Doc Brown. Mad.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good mad.
Cool.
So this is the top, mid, and bottom tier win rate. So what we did is we broke all of the armies into either top tier, middle tier, or bottom tier armies. Okay?
Yeah.
So in the top was Sons of Behemoth, Lumineth, Tzeentch, Seraphon, Daughters of Cain, and Legion of Chaos Ascendant. They're the 6 in the top.
Yep.
Yeah? Everything else was in the middle. And then in the bottom was Gitz, Beast of Chaos, Khorne, Bone Splitters, a couple of other armies. Skaven, most notably Skaven, they've got a terrible win rate. Yeah. So they're all in the bottom tier, right? So you can kind of be like, okay, these armies have probably got like a 40% or worse win rate in the bottom tier. The top tier have got a 55 or better % win rate. And then there's everything in the middle. Okay?
Yeah.
You happy with that?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with that, you can see how each army does against a certain tier, and then also who the bad guys are in each tier. So if you're running a bottom tier Gitz army, Nathan, then you don't want to play Legion of Chaos Ascendant because you'll lose 73% of the time.
Oh, okay.
Same with Lumineth and Ideneth, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Really?
Whereas James, because you're pushing your top tier Lumineth around, or maybe some Stormcast, yeah, you don't want to play against Tzeentch, Sons of Behemoth, or Seraphon, because those are the 3 only armies to beat the top tier armies.
Right, okay. I'm following.
You're following.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but where it gets really fun is if you go back to the faction tab, right, which you guys like have seen already, yeah, is if you look at Gitz, Nathan, they're best at fighting the bottom tier armies.
Yeah, we're good at fighting other weak
Yeah.
guys.
However, you're still you're like 1% better at fighting the top armies, or you're equal. You would think you would be much, much worse at fighting the top tier armies, right? But you aren't.
Yeah.
You're as good at beating the top tier armies as you are at beating the middle tier armies. So that kind of makes it quite interesting.
Right. Okay.
And then you get to like do some real you get to have some real questions about like why that happens, like as Marchetus is saying in the chat, because Gitz have got some pretty strong board control and a lot of bodies. A lot of armies in the top tier aren't really spec'd for playing into the top tier. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's why I thought they would be quite good against Seraphon, and yeah, they were 43% against Seraphon, which is, for a Gitz player, that's pretty good, really.
Okay, so here's the test. James, Nathan, Legion of Chaos Ascendant, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of that techie, exciting army that's like good at shutting down Gargants and Nagash. They've got Kairos, they've got Be'lakor, right? They feel like they're built. They've got a massive win rate. They're in the top 6, the bad guy 6 as we know them. Yeah, the evil 6. The shitters. Oh no, 6 shitters. No, it doesn't work. James, Nathan, which tier do you think Legion of Chaos Ascendant are best against? So are they good at
top? Because they should. Because the top tiers normally have the big important models at the minute.
Okay, yeah. Nath, you agree with that?
Yeah. I would say they're good at fighting. Obviously the Gits numbers weren't good, but I should say they're good at fighting stuff that's got elite things, which seems to be the top tier lists at the moment. Maybe.
Can I just say shout out to Philip Kartiev in the chat, my favorite Russian Warhammer player. Well, actually, they don't have a positive win rate into the top tier, 48%. However, they fucking dominate the bottom tier.
Is it because they can stop the net?
Exactly, Jay. I think it's really interesting. There's loads and loads of Nathan, by the way, Philip Kartiev is actually going to be at Leicester GT. You might get to play a world famous Age of Sigmar player in Philip Kartiev.
Awesome.
He also
cool. What army is he taking?
What army is he taking? Cities? Maybe Zinj? I don't know. But yeah, basically, like Dave is saying in the chat, thanks Dave. What
you said he was Russian guy. Is he coming from Russia?
Yeah, he's Russian over here.
Nice stuff. Yeah. Nice. Good on him.
I thought that was good.
It was a great joke. Yeah,
Thank
well done you.
However, the point is that the Legion of the Chaos Ascendant is actually a win more army. So it just beats the kids. So whenever you see someone pushing Legion of the First Prince around, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna slow a Gargant down, and then I'm gonna make it fail a battle tactic. And you're like, no, you're just gonna really fucking hurt a Beast of Chaos player's feelings. That's what you're gonna do.
You're just trying to punch the little kids. Okay. Fair.
Which I find pretty fascinating.
Because we both said that we thought they'd be good against the top. So they're actually just about average against top, but really good against beating up little kids.
That's it. Which is wild. Although they're not the kings of beating up little kids. That particular accolade goes to the ever loved and never hated Idneth Deepkin. Because
I thought you were gonna say got the Giants.
No, it's I think it's Deepkin. In fact, actually, I might be wrong. No, it's it is Loka. Sorry, and then it's Lumineth. Okay, because that must be such a fun experience, just having all your characters dead turn 1.
What have you brought? The Gobblepalooza. What have you brought? 30 Sentinels.
The anti-Gobblepalooza.
Well, although I'll have you know, the Gobblepalooza are great. They have beaten Teclis and not 30 Sentinels, 20 Sentinels. But then they did lose to the Foxes. So, yeah. Fair enough.
Right. So, anyway, so the stats I did a big long show about that earlier, and all the stats will be online for you guys, but it was interesting to know. Is there anything else you think you might want to know, or is there anything is that even useful? Does that help? Do you care? Those are great ones.
I bet if you're a competitive player, it's quite good to look at that and just see if you can maybe play you can pick on the meta and what's punching what would be good to punch the big guys at the top. Because if you're wanting to play on the top tables, you won't be wanting to fight those guys. So, do we know which is the best army against the top tier?
Sure. It is right there. It's Disciples of Zinj. They have a 55% win rate into the top tier, and a 54% Then it's Sons of Behem at 54%, and then Seraphon at 52%. So those are the three top tier. Those are the top tier hunters, basically. So Tzeentch, Sons, or Seraphon. And actually, really interestingly, if we go and look at Tzeentch, because I do think this is genuinely really interesting, they have a 58% win rate on their own. Yeah, so they're one of the big bad six. But if you take Host Arcanum in, so only subfaction Host Arcanum, not the other ones that are bringing them down, they go up to 62% win rate, and their win rate into the top meta turns into 59%, so it goes up.
Hang on, is Guild of Summoners the highest win rate? Is that because it's been played twice?
Guild of Summoners has been played 40 times, and it's got a 65% win rate.
Someone knew what they were doing.
Well, technically no, because James, if you look at the top right-hand corner, like I was talking to you about, Bobby Years, thanks for subbing, baby. So if you look at the top right, so against the top tier they're 55%, middle tier 55%, and then bottom 66. Okay, Host Arcanum 59% against the top, 62% against the mid, and 67%. Right, so they're really good against everyone. They're just a better army taking Host Arcanum. Guild of Summoners, terrible against good armies, or a lot worse. Goes down to, well, they're not a lot worse, but 45%. But they just punk middle and bottom tier armies. Yeah, that's what they do. And again, it's not many games, truthfully, but
but also funny.
Yeah, very funny.
That person had 3 big chickens.
Just working their hardest, just killing piece of chaos and fucking corn guys. There's some corn guy like, stop this, stop.
And all his models are spawn.
I was kind of hoping it would be useful for casual players. I don't know why. Like, that's why I did the positive win rate potential, PWRP. Say it with me, PWRP. Is because I was hoping that might give them, like, they'd be like, oh, it doesn't matter that I'm losing with my corn army. I should be losing with my corn army, right?
Oh, okay. So yeah. See what you mean? Yeah. Make it so they can see that it's not just their fault that they're rubbish. It's also the list's fault.
Yeah.
Together they
synergize like a Power Ranger into a robot.
I don't know if that's a synergy. Seraphon stats, I'll quickly show those on the screen if you want. Although I did do a show on this already today, so you guys can go and watch that in detail. But I just wanted to know what James and Nathan thought about it, because it's interesting hearing what other people might ask, which I hadn't thought to say. Seraphon got a 55% win rate, and everyone is taking Thunder Lizard. Nearly 60% of the lists are Thunder Lizard, and they have a 52% win rate into the top of the meta. Yeah, so against the bad guys. But when you run Thunder Lizard, it goes up to 56. Yeah.
Really?
And they're just like super like steady across the board, though, right? That's also got to be good.
Huh?
That's all. Like both of those stats are like over 50, over 50, over 50. So like you've got a 50% chance to win at anything, like any level of the board. Whereas I guess if you were like 100% versus top, but 30% versus bottom, you could struggle at that bottom tier, which would skew your end results.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're consistent.
Yeah, that's the one.
Super consistent army, aren't they?
It's a super consistent army. Anyway, so there's a big show that I've already done that earlier, that you can go check out. And Nathan, it's time for you to start. Well, so Moss Powers made a good point, which I'm going to come to in a minute. It's time to you start encouraging those Gits players, Nath, because I know they're going to say, because Gits players aren't going to give a shit. They're going to be like, we hold up everyone else. We're the strongest. Yeah, we're carrying everyone on our shoulders. I know how it's going, but I mean, obviously, I agree with all those statements. But I guess my question is, what do you think needs to happen to the Gits book to bring it up?
I don't know. It's a tough one. There's not like one thing you can point at, I don't think, in that book. Obviously, some of the Warscrolls probably need adjusting, even just some of the keywords, really. Coherency has really screwed them up, and the change in some of the unit sizes as well. So I think because they weren't this bad at the end of AOS 2, and then things like coherency have particularly hurt their bigger units. The reinforcing rule has hurt like their threat units, and also they've changed some unit size, so you've lost a lot of very small throwaway units that you've had. All of your units are over 100 points virtually, so a bit of a... Although you've got a lot of board control, you don't have the cheap board control that you do on others. I don't know.
There must be something, right? Do you
'Cause
think
I
is it a
don't-
points issue
yeah.
or is it Warscrolls?
I mean, you can change the points, and then they will flood the board even more, and then armies will struggle to beat them just because there's so many wounds, and so many models. So I don't know if that's a very nice way to
How many points
play the game.
is 10? Do they come in 10s or 20s?
What's that?
Just like the cheap Git unit.
Yeah, so they come in 20s, and they're 150 points for 20.
So ages ago, me and James, well, I wrote James Hobbs a list I wanted him to run, but he wouldn't run it. That was a skink.
Yeah.
So was it? I think it was a new Seraphon book actually. So it was a skink priest who was like 80 points.
Yeah.
And then units of 10 skinks repeated until you maxed out on points.
Yeah. So,
and it was we've tried it on Tabletop Simulator, and the units of 10 skinks filled a 6x4. Oh, so it must have been last edition because it was a 6x4. Filled a 6x4 for like the entire deployment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I think you could win with this. Like, I think you can win just by them never being able to kill 10 skinks on repeat.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is an option. You could just take units of 20 grots, like loads, like 10 of them, 100, that's 1,500 points, and then spend the other points on some heroes. Or
harder to pass battle shock in Gits when they're not bravery 10, I guess.
Yeah, and also, yeah, obviously, if you took 10 units of 20, that wouldn't be as good as taking
20 units of 10.
20 units of 10, definitely. So,
well,
yeah, which is what they've lost. So you used to be able to take 75-point units of squigs, but then that was a unit of 6, so 5 squigs and a herder. But now they changed the minimum unit size to being 10 squigs and 2 herders. So they've doubled the size.
Right.
And then they increased the cost to 160. So it wasn't that much of a point hike. It was only like 5 points up. But you don't have those little cheap units that you can just throw forward onto. They did the same with Squig Hoppers. Squig Hoppers is even worse because it's on a 32mm base, and so you've got problems coherency, and then you can't take them in units of 5, which you used to be able to do, and now they're in 10s. So those, you don't have any of those little dart units that you can just send out to throw away, unless you take like sneaky snufflers to do that job. But that's not their role. They're a buff piece.
Yeah, they're not cheap either, are they?
No, they're 75 points, so they are quite cheap. But I mean,
they also die.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you could just fill your army with sneaky snufflers and then just have 3 units of scrots at the back stood behind 20 units of sneaky snufflers.
There you go. See, there's the list. That's the list for Brotherhoods.
Some comments in the chat I'd like to talk about. First one, Nathan, do you think it's a Warscroll issue?
Well, yeah, it's a combination of Warscrolls. I don't think the Warscrolls have to be changed that much. But it's probably more, you could, if you gave them the same treatment with their keywords as you gave like Seraphon, then they would probably be on par.
The question was, obviously the Warscrolls for Gits are perfect. Should we make all of the other Warscrolls worse?
All the other Warscrolls worse?
All the Gits ones are clearly perfect. So should we just change all other Warscrolls in the game and drop them down a bit?
Yeah. I mean,
Is that better? Which way would you prefer it to go?
it's,
Gits up, everyone else down into the dank hold.
yeah. Everybody join us in the dank hold. That's where the price is right. That's where the fun is to be had. Yeah.
Rob,
You don't need to be doing 1 gazillion mortal wounds. Just come and have fun stabbing people like the old-fashioned way.
with stabbers.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Because I did want to ask about that because I think there's maybe a conversation about what gets changed because we've just started to hear about the rumors of the FAQ, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw some of these hot rumors out to both of you. James, I'm gonna start with you, and I want your reaction and Twitch chat's reaction. Okay, so first one. The first rumor is Kragnos. James.
Yes.
Or maybe you don't care as much
10
as
points.
Nathan. Is going up points.
What?
Yeah, to 800 points. But, hear me, he gets a ward save
Okay.
and gets the mightier makes rightier rule.
I don't know what that second
It's
rule
the
is.
Gargant rule for standing on objectives.
Okay. And what ward save?
And a ward save, yeah.
Yeah, but what ward save?
I don't know. Fucking dealer's choice. I don't. It's a rumor.
2+.
It's a rumor, so I don't know.
I want him to have a better ward save than the gash. That's all I
Well,
ask.
it's either 4+ or 5+. I reckon 5+.
I want it better than the
Or
gash.
6+.
What's the gash?
4+.
6+.
No, his is a 4+, James.
Only against mortals, isn't it?
It's a 4. No, it's just a 4+ ward, isn't it?
I don't know. Owen.
Pretty certain it's just a 4 at ward.
What's up?
Oh,
It'll probably be a 6+ because it'll be like the bone
it's
splitters.
more
won't
wounds
it?
only.
Yeah, there we go.
Well,
I knew
well,
it.
of course, James.
Oh, see, I've been learning my
Because
rules.
you've been to 37 tournaments that you hated.
It's because I played Ewan and he knew every rule.
Every rule.
Every rule.
Can we get a special shout out for Ewan, please, right now?
Every week.
Every
Love him.
Yes.
Ewan.
If he was 5 years younger, I'd adopt him.
It's weird, but okay.
He's too old for me to adopt, right?
Yeah, I think so.
He told me when he was born, I think it's like 1997, I cried a little bit inside and then I got over it.
For everyone at home, Ewan is the best wargamer on the planet. I know you might think your friend is, but it's definitely Ewan. So
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
It's true. Wow, solid. You rarely get consensus from the team. So, Nathan, what do you think about Kragnos update? Maybe.
Yeah, it would be nice that he gets an update. I like the mightier makes rightier thing on him. Bring him into line with the Gargants. Sounds fun. I mean, although, yeah.
I don't know. I think the mighty makes rightier thing on Kragnos is a bit of a shame because you just want to throw him at people, right? Especially if you give him a ward save. You want to be like, this guy, he's in your face.
Yeah, well, now he's going to be like really tough and he's just going to go and stand on an objective with a couple of Gargant mates.
Yeah.
I'm a bit gutted about that if that's true because it means they're not getting rid of mightier makes rightier.
Yeah, but they've got another 6 months of selling giants first.
But they could change it so it just counts as wounds left on the model is how many wounds it counts.
Yeah, but then they
as.
have to rewrite a war scroll, and that is rare.
Well, no, because that's the point about the rumored FAQ that it's
Kragnos,
they're changing Warscrolls. Like it's going to be a big FAQ, James, from what I understand.
Yeah, but people just brought that Gargant's White Dwarf. You know, they invested $6.99 in 2 pages. Come on,
Okay.
give them a bit longer.
All right, okay.
And Adam Mumford's a big Gargants fan, so we should probably support them.
He is a big Gargants fan, that's true. Okay, so Nathan, do you feel comfortable with the Craggy change, or would you like to see something else?
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't know what the mightier mate rightier rule is that they've changed, so maybe they've changed it for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I doubt it, but maybe. But yeah. It's he didn't seem to be the top dog at the fair, so maybe this will help out, making him a little bit higher up the pecking order.
All right. Well, okay. Well, because he does slap in combat, he's a bit of a beast stick, but he does die to like 2 salamanders. Can we just do a shout out? You might not remember, but Mark, who was with me at Six Nations, but also at Blood Tithe, James. I might not remember
I
our
remember
table boss, Mark. Great. He went to his first Warhammer event this weekend. His first one, which was also attended by Math Mallow and Adam Mumford from the show. Adam lost 4 of his games, I think.
What was he playing?
Netheepkin.
Hasn't he played those for about 7 years and should be well practiced?
You would think, right?
Okay, carry on.
But Mark, his first ever Warhammer tournament ever, 4-1 and 3rd place.
Oh, what a hero!
Wow.
What was he playing?
He was playing Thunder Lizard Seraphon.
Nice.
So
what we're saying is Adam Mumford, who was once the prodigy child of Warhammer, gave his powers to Owen.
Yeah.
And it's now rubbish.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Mostly because I know he's probably getting triggered every time I say he's rubbish.
Also, Math Mallow came first, which is great news.
I mean, he's a hero though.
Oh, skills.
Yeah.
What was he playing though?
He was playing Morathian the Bow Snakes.
Disappointed.
With Gotrek.
I take it back. No, super disappointed. Take it all back.
Take it all back.
I wish Mark had beat him. And Adam too.
Yeah, narrative gamer, obviously.
Anyway, so that's what we've heard about that. Okay, the next FAQ. Next FAQ that I've heard the rumor about, and we'll see what you guys think. Second FAQ rumor is that the foxes, that's the wind spirits, if you guys don't know, which generally travel around on heated sand. There's a whole bit of narrative. If you listen to Six Nations coverage, you'll get that reference. A lot of sand in the Mortal Realms. They are going to be losing retreat in your opponent's shooting phase, or at the end of your opponent's shooting phase. Currently, at the end of your opponent's shooting phase, they're able to retreat or make a normal move, and their normal move is 12 inches, or they can make a 12-inch move, or whatever it is. Their normal move is 24 inches, isn't it? But they can make a 12-inch move, meaning they're basically unchargeable. I've heard that they're getting rid of that. What do you think?
Great news.
Yeah.
Doesn't even need talking about. Like, no one likes it apart from the people that brought 6.
Yes. What do you think, Nathan?
Yeah, I'll be quite happy if they stand still so that we can stab them. So yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Excellent. Do you think that makes them unplayable, as I've seen people on the Lumineth forum say? They've said they'll basically be unplayable now. Any thoughts?
Basically, they're wrong. That they'll be perfectly playable.
Maybe we should stick with how the show works, and we should say they're definitely not playable, probably, but
yes,
you could still play them.
That. Okay, all right. So that's so we all agreed that that's a good change, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
definitely.
Me too. The other rumor that we've heard is that Pink Horrors are getting 50 points cheaper.
Yeah, and 4 new Warscrolls.
If they get another War Scroll, that would be hilarious, because that's like
They get
more than Nagash.
they get 3 more Warscrolls. You can pick whichever one you want to play at the time.
So I'm obviously fibbing. I've actually heard that they've got it going up to 255. There's someone right now who's picked up his phone, having thrown it at the wall, who's like, "Rob, why did you do this to me?" So yeah, apparently they're going up points wise, which I think is good. I think that's a good change. Happy with that?
Yeah, fine.
No? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. They can go up a little bit. It depends what Warscroll they're giving them now, but yeah. Maybe they should make it so you play 1 Warscroll turn 1, and then a different Warscroll turn 2, and then a third Warscroll turn 3, and then turn 4 you got another Warscroll to play with them, and then for the last turn you got the 5th Warscroll.
Like the tides, but you've got to like what do Pink
Keep changing War Scroll.
I mean, that's the perfect change, I would say. Yeah. And that's all the rumors I know. I've also heard rumblings, and this might be wishful listing, that Beasts of Chaos are getting some Warscroll rewrites, which is hope that we might then see Boomspike Gits rewrites as well, Nath.
Yeah, although it does make you wonder if they're going to get like big rewrites in the FAQ, then they're probably not going to be getting a battle tome anytime soon, or don't know. Maybe they are releasing the battle tome on light, but no, that doesn't make sense.
I don't think that's the case.
No. Yeah. So, yeah. So, if you're going to get big FAQ changes, then maybe you won't be getting an FAQ. I mean, a new battle tome for a while.
I mean, the rate that dropping battle tomes at the minute, you're probably talking 2 years.
What, for the next one?
Yeah.
Maggot King of Nodal,
Yes.
2023.
Right. Okay. So those are all the rumors, and that's everything I know. Yeah, so far. So whether or not those changes are gonna come to fruition, we'll see. Okay. On with the main subject of the show. 132 in. Really proud of myself there. Absolutely smashed that. Okay.
Do you reckon the new? Sorry, just on the FAQs. Do you think the Auric Warclans and the Stormcast book are too new to get any FAQs?
No. I mean, look, we've had a change to the dragons, right? And don't forget, they've done, to quote the article, more playtesting. So
do you think the price dragons might go down in the FAQ?
No, I think that I think we might, if hope remains in our hearts, fulminators and long strikes might go up, or even better, they change the Holy Order's ability, so they keep long strikes where they are, because I think without being able to shoot twice, they're fine, and then they just change the command ability. Would be like so good for the game, like so good.
I'd say send them the stats, but MetaWatch is probably a better statistic.
It's arguably more effective. Yeah.
It also tells me when to unleash hell.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. And as like HMS Banky says, I think also I've heard Marathi is going back to Rend 1. There can't be an FAQ change where
she doesn't change her Rend.
Yeah. Nagash probably needs a new War Scroll too then.
Yeah. What would I change?
Maybe they could FAQ him only arcane bolts once.
Yes, that works.
Hand of Dust, cast on an 11. 2 changes. I'm fine with both.
JJ in the chat, who's a Stormcast player, I know. What would change? Why would you? What would you change the Holy Command to? So if you guys aren't aware, you're able to take a Holy Command. So a once per game command ability for Stormcast Eternals. Now, James, I know that you didn't take any shooting unit, so I'm going to ask you what you took. But my answer would be to an equally as rubbish command ability as the other ones. I just think shoot twice is too good as a command ability to exist. I would also take it off Marathi if that makes you feel any better. And I would have a command ability that everyone can use, which is no shooting for you. It uses all of your command points, but your shooting unit can't shoot. Great command ability, board wide, just no shooting for you. My God says, or something similar. All CP in your.
God says no.
What would you say, James?
It's a weird one, isn't it? Like long strikes, like they're nice models. It's nice to see them again. But I talked about it last week. I think.
What did you take?
I wrote that list because
you were saying. Sorry. Carry on.
Oh, I wrote that list because and part of my hatred of Sigmar earlier in the
show.
I want to say year, but probably months because we were locked up for half of the year. Was that like I've kept going to events and seeing people that took lists that either stopped people playing or just like they wanted to finish within 2 turns. And I think like so personally, I just wanted to write a list that went 5 turns. So I didn't take any shooting because long strikes didn't fit what I wanted to play. Judicators I think are too expensive. Like in my opinion at the minute, So I took the holy command that lets you bring back a unit. So it lets you bring back a Redeemer unit, which is any one of the 3 like bog standard battle lines. So Sequitors, Liberators, Vindictors. So they have to die. You spend a CP, and you bring back a unit of no more than 5. So it has to be a unit of 5 or less. 9 away from your enemy, and within 12 of a hero.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really good. It's good defensively. It's good aggressively. And Vindictors are 120, 130 points at the minute.
115 for Vandkas.
Vandkas. So yeah, so those
Vondoctors.
Vindictors.
Vondoctors.
But I do think like actually, and people might disagree, but I think they're fairly well pointed because they're quite tanky, but they don't output a huge amount of damage unless you spike on the dice.
Yeah, I agree. But I would love to see that change. Otherwise, it's just going to be fucking. They'll end up changing Sentinels, and then you'll just be like, they'll just be.
You could easily fix it in the same sort of way. So you could easily say a unit of no more than 3 fires twice, which means it makes only 3 long strike raptors fire twice instead of 6.
Yeah. Okay. Or a min unit or something, I guess. I would just like to see shoot twice go.
Yeah, because you can only bring back the min unit, can't you? You can't bring back.
Yeah, so the Vindictors one, when I read it the first time, I was like, oh my god, this is horrific. If you run like the 1 unit of 15 and just like, oh, you killed that, now it's back. But I think if the fact that they like automatically went, this is too strong. Whereas that old rule, which was like you usually when you lose a unit, spend a CP, roll a 5 up, bring the whole unit back. Like I watched a couple of times, people be like, "Oh, I lost 30 Sequitors. Oh, there's a 5. Here's 30 Sequitors." Whereas I think like just going, it's a unit of 5, no more, no less. The only issue with limiting the shoot twice one would be if you got, say, 5 Judicators and you wanted to do it on them because they're definitely not as scary. But I think that's probably the only way you do it without being like to a points limit of, which just adds like something horrifically new to the game. So I think if they just said this happens too much, unit of 6 max, because them firing twice is terrifying because it's 480 points for 2 units.
Yeah.
So you're basically firing a quarter of an army twice at some point.
Yeah. They're obviously priced at that because they're that good, aren't they?
They're that
and
good
the range
in their
is
normal
terrifying.
shooting phase, right? So they're not pointed for being able to shoot twice, right? So anyway, I don't know how we got into that. How did we get there? Somewhere.
Oh, JJ asked
It was
what you would change it to.
Yeah, hate the long strike segment.
The Musk of Elon. Remove mortal wounds and rend from all shooting, in my opinion, not allowed to reinforce. Ruffle Strike Raptors are already crazy expensive. The Musk of Elon, Ruffle Strike Raptors is very fun. It's going to shoot you with 1,000 points of my army turn 1. It's basically what it is. Like that, and it just shouldn't happen. But it doesn't matter. Okay.
It's okay, Owen. Don't worry about the 1k points of shooting. Just hand a dust them.
Hand a dust them off, baby.
All
right,
unit.
so on to so now 139. Really proud of you both for segueing. The main topic of the show today is well, it might not. I don't know if this is going to be a big conversation, a long conversation, or what you think it's going to be. But I'm interested in what you two think, and I'm interested in what the chat think. So, White Dwarf this month have done a interview with one of the designers, basically, and they talked about like a lot of different things in the article. But I'm trying to find the actual quote, and it's I don't know where exactly the quote is because it's over 3 pages. But they're having a discussion about Warscrolls. And the thing that they are... Okay, here we go. In order to... So, I'll read out this section if this is okay with you guys. Yeah? Warscrolls. So this is an interview with Luis Aguala, is one of the game developers for Age of Sigmar team. Since joining the studio a few years ago, he's worked on many battle tomes and rule sets, including the latest edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, recently, Lewis set out to do some interviews. Warscrolls. Whether it's being battle tomes or on Warscroll cards, any player of Age of Sigmar will at least glance at the Warscrolls for their units during a game, no matter how familiar they are with the unit. It's a good way of keeping your attention on the little details, or to simply make sure something works as you remember it. It also ties in with one of the biggest objectives we have for the 3rd edition, which is effectively speed up the pace of battles overall while maintaining immersion and the curiosity of players. Yeah, redeploy and stand and shoot, definitely going to speed that up, baby. The core feature, let's speed it up. What if your opponent does stuff in your turn too? Are they the same? Are they the same thing?
Yeah.
But we won't criticize. Yeah. In order to achieve this...
Coherency.
Sorry, Nath, what did you say?
Coherency definitely speeds
that's...
things up. Those new coherency rules can take a flying jump.
I agree. In order to achieve this, one of the first areas we scrutinised was the amount of rules on a single Warscroll. We wanted to streamline our approach and design this area, ensuring that Warscrolls are simple things to refer to rather than potential obstacles that slow down the flow of battle. If the rules are included on Warscrolls are more focused in this way, it also opens the door to give those units more unique roles in their army. For a majority of Age of Sigmar 2, we saw specific units from each faction stand out above the rest. This would have been for a number of reasons. Maybe the points cost of a unit offered better value for its power, or the specific unit benefited most from battle traits or sub-faction abilities. Regardless of these, the reason this was unforeseen consequence of the way we wrote rules for units, and we looked to improve upon our method in the new edition. This approach took a few different iterations to nail down, but in the end, we settled on the idea that we tried to create the strength and identity of each unit with one rule, if it was possible. Only adding more if there were still areas of the unit's background or flavour that needed to be represented. This meant that the more common units in an army would have fewer rules on their Warscrolls than its heroes or monsters, due to the nature of Warscrolls with higher points cost. And then they go on to quote, and honestly, like if you were going to quote anything, you do not quote the scare tactics from a unit of Gut Rippers. That is not the... Do you know what that does, James? Nathan?
No idea. -1 for
Yes, I do.
What does it do, Nathan?
No, -1 to hit, but you have to roll a 6. Unless you're a monster, then it's a +2 to that or something. No. It's you roll. It's -1 to hit, but I can't remember how you get it. You have to stand on your head and spin counterclockwise for 3 turns, once clockwise, and then you're -1 to hit.
Definitely an easy one. The actual rule is at the start of the charge phase, so start.
Oh, there we
if
go.
this unit is more than 3 inches from all enemy units, you can pick one enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit that is not a hero or monster. So some more specifics there. Roll 2d6. Add 1 to the roll for every 5 models in this unit. If the roll is equal to or greater than the bravery characteristic of that enemy unit, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that enemy unit that target this unit at the end of that turn. Okay.
It's a lot easier if you got nets.
What did nets do, Nathan?
You don't roll any dice, just say you're -1 to hit if you're within 2 inches of the sky.
I mean, terrible example to set in the article is all I'm going to say. You missed the part which only applies when you have your cock at the table. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. Archer meme, sure.
My tactics were flawless, and yet my forces lie decimated.
That I didn't roll the 2d6. Who knows? That sounds crazy convoluted. It is. Okay, all right. Couple of things I want to break down, but I really need to go and get myself a drink. So I'm going to leave James and Nathan in charge for 2 minutes. Please don't burn the place down.
Dangerous.
I just got to go grab a drink, and then we'll talk about this in detail. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone got any questions for Nathan and James? Now's your time. Unrestrained from me.
Here we go. We're freestyling. We're freestyling.
Yeah, okay.
Freestyling.
Who's taller? Nathan. I'm short. I am very short. If you ever see a photo of us together, in fact, any photo with me in, I'm always short, unless the Boomer team of Adam Mumford and co are there, and then I'm probably the same size.
Just average height.
Is the Orc terrain gold or copper? That one's for you, Nathan.
What Orc terrain? There's no Orc terrain.
What?
They just take all the or maybe as a 40k question or
No,
normal.
it's a normal question. What colour's Orc terrain? Gold or copper?
Gold.
Okay, there we go. James and
Yeah.
Nathan, do we sack Dan or Rob? We could sack both. Neither's important. I can answer
Yeah.
that one.
Neither do anything. It's fine. No props.
When me and Owen Jackson having a grudge match at T Sports, anytime he's too scared
Yeah.
because I once wrote a list just in the hope that I got to play him that stops his Nagash casting. Where else are we going? What smell is Rob? Oh, Nathan, what smell is Rob? You lived with him.
What smell is?
Yeah,
Rob?
what smell would describe Rob?
A jammy smell.
Okay,
He
jam.
likes his jam, doesn't he? Yeah, jammy smell.
I used to dye my hair. I was a hairdresser for most of my life, so I used to dye it.
What? Oh, okay, cool.
There you go. James, do we have any Nurgle rumors beyond the block? No,
By
no
the
Nurgle.
Glockin.
Oh, by the Glockin. There you go. There's your link.
Yeah.
Why Sweden? No, I don't even know what you mean. Why is Rob scented candle? Jam, same thing.
Jam flavored candle.
Favorite biscuit. I mean, that's an hour of show. It's in its own right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Jammy Dodger right now.
What?
But at this,
A dry jammy dodger?
too late. I've said it. I didn't say it was dry. I could have dipped it in tea. Screw you.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's yours
What
then?
favorite biscuit?
What wet biscuit do you? Yeah, your wet favorite
it's not
biscuit. It
No,
has to be
it
wet.
doesn't have to be
one now.
wet. You don't have to like. It's not
You've just-
either.
You just said dry in such
No,
a
it's not
derogative
either
way.
in the
So
biscuit
your
or
biscuit
from the
has to be
Sahara
wet.
Desert. It's quite powdery. I would go for a classic chocolate covered hobnob.
Yeah, I like hobnobs. Mine would be custard cream for dunking.
Good choice.
Wow, great choice.
I'm on board.
Great choice.
In a minute, Rob's gonna be like plain digestive.
No, I just said chocolate covered hobnob. Plain
I
digestive.
feel like you're a plain digestive person.
Anyway, right. Okay, back on subject, shall we? Right. Okay. So my first point is, or my first question to you both is, how do you feel about there only being one rule on a war scroll? Like overall, what are your thoughts, Nathan?
With the majority of Warscrolls, there are only one or two, so I'm happy with them to be one or one rule, as long as it's a nice rule, a decent.
Well, so
rule.
that's the...
Just one rule will do. I mean, but the thing is also like it depends on the units, because some units are like your normal infantry have also got a banner and a musician and a champion. And quite often the banner and the musician will give you a little bit of a bonus. And then you might have netters in your unit, and that gives you another little bonus.
Yep.
So
Nathan, what you're saying is I don't want it to be one rule because I want 4 rules.
yeah, I want a netters rule, rule for the unit, one rule for the unit, one rule for the netter, one for the musician, and one for the banner.
Okay.
There we go. 4 rules. 4 rules.
4
please.
rules. Okay. James.
But if they don't have netters, they don't have musicians, and they don't have banners, then just one rule.
Then just one rule will do. Okay. Nathan, James, what are your thoughts?
See, like I've already got loads of opinions on
Oh,
this.
okay. Let's go. I'm excited.
So if I buy a new army, so I'm going to buy an old army or I'm going to buy a new army,
Okay.
right? So in Age of Sigmar 3, for the whole beginning, I only played Skaven. And I only played like some weird janky Skaven list that I wanted to play with loads of bells, so I got to roll dice and hope that there were particular numbers. But when I buy an old army, and I think this goes for every army, so if I am wrong, anyone can correct me. So if I buy like, maybe not skeletons because I've had a newish book, but if I buy like clan rats or Saurus or what else is old that still exists, Empire, Free Guild, Footmen or whatever they're called now, etc., etc. They normally already have 3 rules. So I probably have a leader who's +1 attack. I probably have a drum that's extra to my run, my charge,
something.
etc.
Mhm.
And I probably have a banner that's +1 to my bravery, or again something of randomly obscure.
I love that stuff, by the way.
Isn't
Though.
always the same. Yeah. I've got no problem with it. But so there's 3 rules that are on my war
Yeah.
scroll. So I've got a leader, +1 attack, drum, let's say move, banner, bravery, but then then I've got some clan rats and they do that, and I've got some free guild people and they do that, but they're not. That gives no character. That just goes, oh, there's a guy with a banner, a drum, and a guy with a bigger hat, because that's how the leader works. So that's no story, is it? Because my clan rats then are the same as my free guild guys, so they've got to give me a narrative rule, so I care about my clan rats.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. So let's say then they're like, oh, and they're also all scared of everything. So if there's 30 of them, they're not so scared or whatever, let's say. So that's their rule. And I know that's a bog standard Skaven rule at the minute, but let's say they move that to the War Scroll because they want to give them 1 rule.
Yeah.
But then they're also an older army. So does my equipment loadout matter? So if it does that mean that they're then like, oh, you can take 2 weapons or you can take a shield, and if you take a shield, you get +1 to your save. At which point I'm like, oh, well, that's 3 rules for that. A rule to make them interesting, because I think we need that personally, and then another rule if I've built them with a shield, or a rule if I've built them with 2 weapons, and that might be condensed under 1 heading, but let's be realistic, it's 2 rules, 1 for 2 weapons, 1 for a shield. So at this point I'm on 6 rules.
Yeah.
And that's for a bog standard filler unit. It's my battle line. So in my head I'm thinking, okay, so actually in my head I'm just counting, that's 6. So I've got 6 rules on a war scroll for the most basic unit in my army.
Mm-hmm.
So the easy rule to remove is the one that gives them flavor.
The easiest one to remove.
They might remove it. Yeah, I think the easiest one for them to remove, let's say, is the one where they're like, oh, but we want people to model on a banner and a drum because they're in the box, blah, blah, blah. And we know people have got them. So let's remove that one. But then I lose flavor. Or you go the other way and you go, oh, you can build them however you want, but actually they have 1 attack profile, they have 1 rule, and they're done. And I think we walk away from that kind of thing where a fantasy game looks like a fantasy game, where we know a unit probably had a musician and a banner and whatever else. So that's my starting point. I think 6 rules seems almost like the starting point of where a unit looks.
Okay, I'd say that
we can probably drop it to 5 if we lose the double weapon loadout. We get rid of the loadout and we just say this is their save, bravery, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I guess
they get a banner, they get a loadout.
I guess I don't need the weapon to have a rule, but I think there's a couple of points which I think Nathan also talked about a moment ago. I don't mind there being a 1 rule, but I need that 1 rule to do something really different. That scare tactic that they showed us from the Gut Rippers is just an awful rule. It doesn't make them scary. It doesn't have any real flavor. It doesn't really do much and is a bit asinine, really. And James, you're quite an interesting one to talk about this because obviously you've been playing at least a little bit of MCP, right? So my overarching conversation for Warhammer for a while, or at least my opinion, it might change in the future, but right now is that I want the War Scrolls to have as much flavor as we can give them rules-wise, because if I don't bring that War Scroll, I don't have to learn the rules, right? Very much like MCP. If you don't bring that 1 character, you don't ever have to know their rules, right?
No. But it's interesting, right? Because I think, so my second point, so I'm just going to ramble, so sorry chat, sorry you two, you're going to have to listen, was then I was like, oh, do you know what? My list had 7 units of Vindictors.
Mm-hmm.
And I know their rules, but I don't know what's on the War Scroll. So then I went and found the War Scroll.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, they have 2 rules. Or 3 rules, I guess. So they have a champion.
Yep.
Extra attack. They have a standard bearer, +1 to bravery. If we're classing those as rules, that's 2. And then they have their bit of filler, bit of story. They have some nice weapons. If they hit with a 6, it's a mortal wound, and then it stops.
Yep.
I'm not sure it adds any character to the models, but it gives us a bit of thing of like, oh, their weapons are good.
Yeah.
They didn't have a shield wall. They don't have, anything else, and maybe that works. But then we talk about what the article talked about, or at least what I took away from it when you were reading, was the prestige of the unit.
Yep.
Then gives it more rules. So, like, a Lord Imperator has 3 rules on his Warscrolls. So he has a companion, so he has a Griff Hound. He's a distinguished leader. He gets to give a command without giving it away. And he has Guided by Lightning, which is point at the floor and bring someone closer than 9. So then it's like, okay, so as each unit gets better, we force it to have more rules, which doesn't necessarily make it better. It just gives someone more to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And then just had a little Google, and I thought, oh, what model has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rules on its war scroll? Do we think? 7
rules on its Warscroll. Severith?
No.
Nagash?
Probably. No.
I don't. Knight Draconis or a new Drake?
Yeah, the Storm Drake
Yeah,
Guard.
Yeah, of course.
7 rules. And so I think there's
7 rules.
7 rules. So I'm not going to read them all because we'd be here all day. But they have a champion.
Yep.
Then they have Dispersed Formation.
Yep.
Merciless
Yep.
Impact. Arcane
Yep.
Heritage. Draconic Flame
Yep.
Stream. Dragged into the Tempest. Draconic Onslaught.
Okay. So
But, and I'm going to ramble a tiny bit more, sorry, Rob. But then in my head, I was like, okay, so what they're saying now is we're trying to streamline the game. We're trying to minimize the rules. And we're trying to make it faster.
Yeah.
So let's say, because there's probably some books that are written. So let's say they've said that, knowing that and please, internet, don't crucify me. But I'm going to just say, so let's say they say the next book they're currently writing, so the book they're working on now, as they wrote that article for White Dwarf, is, I don't know, something that hasn't been out in years, so Skaven. And in their head, when they wrote the Skaven book, they're like, right, 1 rule a war scroll. And then they write Thanquol's, and they're like, okay, everything gets 1. Thanquol's a leader, he gets 2. And in a year's time, he gets a 2-rule war scroll and gets to fight a dragon with 7.
yes.
Nightmare. Like, they've already started. For me, in my head, like, Stormcast was a Age of Sigmar 3 rulebook, and so was the Warclans one. I haven't read the Warclans one, so I won't pretend to know it. But, like, you can't start with new models that get 7 rules and then be like, actually, let's give everything 1.
It's a really solid point, and I talked about that. I got loads of thoughts on that as well. Nathan, you got any thoughts on any of that so far?
Well, I mean, that's pretty similar to what they did with the Gits book. They specifically locked a load of things with keywords, and then in the designer's notes said, yeah, this is all intentional, that this is what we're going to do. And then after that, then they wrote all the books with very loose keyword usage after that. So a similar situation where they say, oh, we're going to reduce the number of rules, but then they've already given a load of stuff, a gazillion rules. Although a lot of the stuff they are slimming down on the rules. So, but every now and again you get just one crazy one, like the dragon one, where that's where all the rules ended up on that guy.
I agree.
Those guys.
But that's a nightmare, right?
Well,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
'Cause they,
Oh yeah.
so like
Carry on.
I'd like to bring a couple of things. Like James, great point, because I was going to pivot to that, so I super appreciate it. Is that I've talked about this before. My stance has always been, I think the Warscrolls should have more rules, because if I don't have them on the table, I don't ever have to know them. Different to it, like if you've got an allegiance ability, a subfaction ability, a spell, an aura, a moon traveling over the sky all at the same time, you're like, that's a lot to learn. No matter what I bring. Whereas if I only bring, this dragon versus this Vandactor, I only need to know what the dragon does because I've only got the dragons. I don't need to know what the Vandactors do, right? So I'm in a solid place. I thought that was better. We can generally assume that the White Dwarf article is just full of bullshit and they've put nothing of any use or value in there at all. I think that's a fair statement, right? Because James, quite rightly, without any prompting, has already established that that's the case. So it doesn't really matter. So it doesn't matter that they've said they're going to do this because, as Nathan said, they've said they're going to do stuff before and then they've gone back on it or they've changed their mind. The White Dwarf articles and the community site articles are just full of just marketing speak and bullshit. So none of that's really relevant. But what is relevant to us as a community is, what do we think the best version of Warscrolls is? Do we want stripped back single rule Warscrolls, or do we want flavorful, exciting Warscrolls? James, Nathan, I'll give you a second to think about the next question. And Twitch chat, same question to you. Are there any Warscrolls that you guys have loved and the rules on them that you've loved and why? I'll tell you mine while you two are thinking about it. I think, and I'm with JJ, by the way, I'm 100% for super flavorful Warscrolls. I don't mind there being a bunch of rules. I don't want them, literally that Scare Shield one is so awful. It's do 3 things for nothing you ever care about, right? I don't want that. But what I do want, and I've said this time and again, is things like the Wrathmonger War Scroll. Previous, not the new one, the old one, where that made them, they had this amazing thing that they're full of rage, and if you ever murdered one, if you ever killed one, their rage blood would go into you and you could take over the opponent's model and do one set of attacks. Amazing. They're cornate units, they're full of rage, they make you so angry you lose control of your model. It's a flavorful rule, it wasn't complicated, it made the unit super unique on the tabletop, and I loved it. So I'm super into that. I'd like to see more rules like that in the future, and that's one rule on a War Scroll, right? That's one rule, that's all it was, and it made them this amazing thing that was super cool. So what... that's because I think that's more important. I want units. I want to buy a unit, and I don't want it to be 40k where just the number is higher. Oh, are you going to get new custodies? They've got an extra 1 damage on their sword. That isn't that isn't flavor. Do you know what I mean? That isn't what like you say, James. It might as well just be the same unit but with a different skin, which I'm not keen for. Nathan, you got any War Scrolls you love and why?
Which ones do I love? I mean, I agree with you on the Wrathmonger one, because it did have 2 rules on it.
Yeah.
Didn't it? It also gave people within 8 inches, but it could have just done with the 1 rule, and I would have been happy if it was just the 1 rule. If that was just the more fun one. I'm definitely in with having fun rules, so I don't mind if there's less of them, obviously, but yeah. But it would be nice, it would be nice if the banners and the things also had rules. So on those sort of units, then you're looking at having 3 or 4 rules, aren't you? And then, like you say, with the different weapon options and things, do you count those as rules? Does that mean you can't have a special rule?
Why aren't they pointed differently? The weapon options. It's fucking lazy. How much more effort? I know the afternoon they spend on pointing it must be tiring, yeah? But I feel that they can just be do you know what? Stabbers, with spears, they're this many points, but with, what are the other ones that they've got? Not spears?
So you got stabbers and spears. Poking spears
and you always take the
stabbers,
spears, right? Or am I wrong?
No, I always take the stabbers.
Okay. But why?
Them, so, because they hit on 4s and the spears hit on 5s.
So would it be good to make the spears a little bit cheaper?
Well, you could do, definitely. I mean, they have done that ultimately, because at one point they were just grots, and so the bows and the stabbers and everything was in the same unit, and now they've separated them out so that they're shooters and stabbers. But yeah, I can see definitely where there's disparity between how useful a weapon is. You do want the points.
Because they eventually did that with Kurnoth Hunters, right?
Yeah.
It's just laziness on their part, like, truthfully. So I think the War Scroll having, like, the model having 3 weapon options, therefore the War Scroll having to have 3 rules for their weapons feels a little unfair, because really it's 3 units that's, like, in one. Anyway, James, what you got a War Scroll that you love?
Do you know, I think, like, and if anyone's played for a long time, some of those, like, original Age of Sigmar, like, ones with ridiculous flavorful rules.
Well, such as?
So there was that vampire that you had to talk to, and he
Manfred.
had to talk back. It wasn't Manfred, was it?
Oh, no,
it was one with a bat cape. Vlad von Carstein. So, like, I think there was some of those, and I'm not sure they have to be quite as mad, because I think they were just experimenting at the beginning. But I think, like, at that one point, there was lots of rules that were written where they were like, oh, these used to have loads of character, so we'll keep some character on the War Scroll, even though in theory this character, like, hasn't made it to the Mortal Realms. And I think, like, those are really interesting. And we talked about it a minute ago, like the MCP, and I don't know if people have played in the chat, but, like, theirs are quite interesting because all the attacks are fairly basic. Like, most of the attacks just go, it's one of 3 types of attack. You roll this many dice, and if you roll this, this, or this happens. But then the characters have, like, sub rules, a bit like you would on a War Scroll, but they're always aimed at the character. And what's interesting is, obviously, when they write an MCP rule, they kind of have to base that narrative on, comics and movies and films and stuff that's already happened. And not just to fire that on a different game system from a different company, but also Games Workshop's Middle-earth strategy battle game, which I also love. And I also think
How many Gandalfs do you own?
5. How many Gandalfs is enough?
Who knows? 7.
Endless.
Endless.
Priceless. Whatever. But so are you both Lord of the Rings fans?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nathan, are you a Lord of the Rings fan?
Yeah.
Do you know who Aldor is?
Do you know how much of a Lord of the Ring fan I am?
Okay.
I've read the first quarter of the Silmarillion, like everyone has, and stopped, like everyone has.
Yeah, nice.
Like,
do you know who Aldor is?
I don't. Nathan?
Aldor.
No.
So have you seen the film?
Yes.
So in the second one,
Yes.
which is probably the best one, when the Uruk-hai are going for Helm's Deep, and they're all on the wall with their bow and arrows.
The guy who shoots
Oh, he's
first.
the old guy.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, the old
So
guy.
you can buy him. Forge World make him. Well done them. And he has specific rules. So let me just read this. So in Lord of the Rings, so we roll a priority, and then you move everything, then I move everything, then you shoot everything, then I shoot everything, etc., etc. But at the beginning of each phase, heroes can be like, "Oh, I'm a hero. I'll shoot before everyone else." Aldor has a rule: unsteady nerves. Aldor must always shoot first in the shoot phase before anyone.
He's
Rubbish.
Yeah.
He's rubbish at shooting. That makes it even better. He only hits on a 5-up, which isn't too bad for Lord of the Rings, but still pretty bad. So he's not good, but he has a rule that narratively is brilliant.
Like,
preemptive strike all the time.
And so I think, like, almost that. And what annoys me even more is we're talking about him, and we know he shoots first, because by the time I got to, like, on the wall of Helm Deep with arrows, you're all like, "Oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
We know what's coming." Age of Sigmar, they release Bastian Cathalos. Do quite like his rule set, so not to pick on him, but he's new. They can write whatever they want. We don't know who he is. Like, his narrative can be forged by what they write on his War Scroll.
Yeah.
And then what they do instead is give us, like, Garviel Shoreheart, whose name got changed to Shore Charge because no one cares about him, what he did, or what his story was. We just know he's
rules
+3 to
crafted
charge.
his story forever, right? Like, everything he is as a model, like, we call it the boom thirster, right? What
Yeah.
are the other thirsters? No one cares. It's like, is it a boom
No.
thirster? Yes. It's like when you create, when the rules do something, like, and it doesn't have to be destroy stuff. When the rules do something, like, and maybe there's too many units for too many rules, right? But like, when you create, like, that should be the job of the creative department. That should be where them, like, I love the Doom wheel. It moves 4d6, but it's a crazy invention. I can re-roll it, but if I roll a 1, you get to move it. That's great fun. It's a game. Like, for all of the people who complain, like, competitive gamers will learn all the rules. They will slug through the most obnoxious wording on a rule and know it in minutia to annoy the fuck out of you. You're like, no, actually, that's not quite how that works. So I'm going to do this. Like, that's competitive gamers. Like, they should be designing games for casual gamers that work competitively. And, like, the Doom wheel's perfect. Like, it does that exactly right. You know, they hit the nail on the head with Skaven quite a bit in some ways.
Yeah, but also that boom thirster, like, it's not even a complicated rule. It's like you roll some dice, you roll some 6s, goes down, like, it explodes, and then as a bunch of players, like, that narrative was crafted. You know, like Pointy Fishman from Idoneth, we all hate him, but we know what he does because it's like, oh, he gives them plus to their charge. What does he do? He stands there and points. Like,
Yeah, he's a pointy guy.
he's an idiot, but we know what he does, and like, and we've all done enough streams, and I'm sure that the chat has watched enough, you know, live streams of games for those narratives to get crafted. And I think the flip of that is then we get, like, you know, the game many years ago that me and you commentated on, where Luvo got annihilated quite quickly, but we ended up debating about his cannon crew facing the wrong way. But actually, like, you could just be like, if your cannon crew's facing the target that you're shooting at this turn,
Yeah, like,
+1 hit.
Yeah, it's not even like, it's a terrible, like, you could, because it's a 360. Yeah, you can shoot from anywhere, but then you'll move your cannon.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, I'll have you know he's directly looking at him, so that's +1 to hit. I need you to know that. Like,
Yeah.
that's James. Great rule. Great
Yeah, and
rule. Love that. Like, Nathan, what do you think about all of this?
Yeah, all for fun rules, definitely. Especially if, they give you a reason to bring the model, whereas sometimes you get rules that don't give you any reason to bring the model, and so it's just got to be the fact that you like the model is why you bring it. I mean, the first rule set for the Squid Gobber was great, because it was so rubbish you'd never see it. So that was a good
it
reason
was
to bring
it was truly terrible. Like, it was so bad. Like, I've always liked, not always liked, but the Chalice and Blood and Darkness was a good rule, right? Because it was like an actual cup. Like, so a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon used to have this thing called the Chalice of Blood and Darkness, which was a weapon gear option. If you took it, and they all took it, yeah, then what it did was, once per battle, you could drink from it, and you would heal D6. It used to be really important back in the day when you would have ethereal Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragons, because they would get battered and beaten up, and they would get down to like a couple of wounds, and then they'd use their Chalice and Blood and Darkness. And the difference, so I played against quite a few Velozes at that point, and the difference playing against someone who played it and then rolled a 1 versus rolled a 6 was night and day for the opponent as well as for the player. Like, someone was going away upset from that single dice roll, yeah, and someone was going away from it really happy. But, like, surely that's one of the reasons that we play this game, and also the way that they can make the game better. Like, that's kind of like my big takeaway. I think that's one of the things I was most disheartened about with the Stormcast book, and to some degree the Warclans book. Although there's some elements, I like what they did with brutes. Like, and I'd like to also quote Morgan Stormsmasher, who was talking in the chat earlier. He made a point, and I think actually pigs are a really good example for this. Why not just have the weapon do the same thing? Like, because there's clearly a better weapon with the pig now, which is why Nathan's had to change all of the arms. So you could even point them at different levels, you know, spend an extra 10 minutes in the office, or just have them do the same thing. And then it doesn't, like, because I've always liked the spears, so all my guys have got the spears on. And then people would be like, "What are they?" And I'd be like, "They're this weapon." And they were like, they wouldn't care how it looked. They were like, "I'll have you know they're not actually spears. Those are choppers." And I'd be like, "I'll have you know I think you're a twat." Like, would be my response. But no one ever needed me to say that because obviously that's dumb. So like, it's just anyway. That's kind of, I went off on one there, but I worry, especially for the Stormcast one, because Stormcast are like very similar looking. They basically just have different weapons, right? Whereas,
yeah, most of the Stormcast now, like even Liberators. So Liberators, 5 years old. You could build them sword, hammer and shield, sword and shield. And I stupidly, when I brought them, because it was my first Sigmar army, I built one squad with swords and one squad with hammers, and then after paid enough attention because I was playing properly and went, oh, one of them hits on 3s and wounds on 4s, and one hits on 4s and wounds on 3s. Just confusing. Like, no one needs that. And like, someone would be like, oh, so they're 3s and 4s, and be like, oh no, now it's the sword, so they're 4s and 3s. Like, it's not good for me, it's not good for my opponent. And I think in this book it's just
weapon.
Doesn't matter what they're built with. It's just weapon. So they're all 3s and 3s or whatever they are now. And that's better. Like, that's better for me, it's better for my opponent. It doesn't really matter, and I can make them look how I want.
Weapon.
And they point them. Like, they point them right. Like, because it doesn't
Germ
matter.
in the chat says, I have 120 spear clan rats and 120 hand weapon clan rats, but I'm also mad. I'm really glad that they follow. I've got both. Yeah.
Are they painted? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I've got 120 spear gobos and 120 stabber
All fully
gobos,
painted.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Ready.
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 Fight.
What are they doing? Just in a box, ready.
But just doing press ups in a box.
Dig O, first time chatter. That's great. Welcome to the show. I missed the old brute rules for the boss claw and brute smasher, where you get a bonus to the smasher if the claw hits.
Yeah, that was good rule. I mean, I'm pretty glad that they stopped it, because on the Art Boys used to have like great weapons and then double-handed weapons and then a dude with a shield and a weapon, and you'd have to fucking like go, all right, I've got 45 boys here, and 13 of them have got great axes and 12 of them have got this, and I'm glad that's gone. Yeah. One weapon option is better.
I think one weapon option is great, but I like the fun rule. So give me a kind of roundup of the conversation. It's been a good one, so I'm really happy about it. Are you less rules are better, or like I'm kind of pigeonholing you here? I'll let you,
no,
James. I'll let you give me your like summation thoughts, and I'll put mine at the end. Nathan, you go after. What are your summation thoughts, really?
Honestly, I think you can give me 6 rules. You can give me 1 rule, or you can give me 22 rules. I don't think it really matters. I think what actually matters is the quality of the rule you give. So does it add to the game? Yes or no? Because I could have a war scroll with 22 rules on that all give +1 to hit.
Agreed.
Not interesting. So I don't care. But if you give me 1 rule that does something like interesting, so for example, the little Skaven 2 lads with the machine gun, like that 1 rule, they only need the 1 rule, which is, do you want to overcharge it? Yes. If you do, roll 2 dice, you double it. If you roll a double, they blow up. Worth it every time.
Never not doing it. I agree. 100%.
Yeah, never not doing it. Like, give me the good rule. Doesn't matter how many you give me. Give me the 1 good one, and it'll make me want to take some.
Yeah. Nathan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Skaven ones were pretty good. I think in general they had some fun rules there, and yeah, I mean, I'm all for having probably less rules, but for them to be fun rules, like that machine gun rule. Yeah,
I think James has nailed it. Yeah, I think so. Of the chat, quality, not quantity. I absolutely agree. It's kind of like, I don't care about streamlining, I really don't, because otherwise I would have been really bothered about Unleash Hell and also Redeploy. I really like Redeploy. Less bothered about Unleash Hell. I reckon they can yeet that into the sea, if I'm honest. But like, I think more fun rules is better. Like, and more like James said, Gabriel Shore Charge, right? Like, the reason they're called Shadow Stonkers, right, is because they were underpointed massively for all of the utility the Shadow Stalker had. That was where the meme comes from, right? Like, you need the stuff to be good. Thanks. Oh, James, you gave Dig a gift sub. Thanks, James. Oh, is this first time in the chat? Like, I think more flavor is better and more interesting. I want the rules to create the story or the rules to tell me what the story is. Because as far as I'm aware, Gabriel Shorehart is somewhere in a book somewhere that they've written from Black Library, and he's just whispering in motherfucker's ear, you should go faster. Like, that's it. That's all he's doing. Like, I don't imagine he does anything else. Like, he's just, like, pissed off in the... Like, he goes to a tavern and he's like, why isn't it here faster? Like, he's just mad all the time about not getting...
Just shouts charge all the time. Charge, charge, charge!
He's just super annoying. Just telling everyone to charge all the time. Like, imagine how annoying he would be. A special love to David Smith for donating 2 gift subscriptions. The chat's so kind of you. It's very, very nice. What a lovely man. It's very kind. Imagine, is that for the 2 wound plague bearers? I think it is. Imagine, like, you're in the meeting and, like, Sigmar's there and all the other leaders, and they're like, right, okay, we need to defeat this OC Bone Reaper's stronghold. What's the plan? Charge. Okay, all right, Gav. Okay, Gav.
Time to leave the table, son. But also, I like a really unproductive table because like Andrasta's like, give me something big, I'll bring you its head. He's just shouting charge, and then Bastion's like, my voice is so loud, lightning bolts come from the sky.
Charge.
Like, what unproductive team
So
they'd make,
unhelpful.
actually. And in my head, Celestin Prime doesn't speak, he just glares at things.
There's just there's a Stormcast leader who we haven't heard about yet, who just every time the council finishes, like they all leave, he's just in there. He's like, "Fucking God, what a bunch of idiots!" Oh, he's just so livid.
I'm pretty sure that in the original book, it might not be in the new one because I haven't read it that well, but there was a logistics chamber that was supposed to come. So I hope one day we get that and they have the best rules, and one of them's just like organizes people, makes their command points better. Nothing else. It's just like get a command point extra to make someone do something because he's telling them what to do. He's just got a pen and paper.
Middle manager Stormcast is really
or
important.
A phone and an app.
Really important. Okay, all right. Good chat. And chat, I hope you enjoyed it as well. Saturn Boy says, Beast Skewer Killbow. 1 rule, swinging unreliable, fun as shit, and I'll never run less than 2. There we go. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so to wrap the show up, it's a bit of a big one, and unfortunately it's homework. So... get ready. Thank you very much to Guanagumo for subscribing with a Twitch Prime. First time. You can also subscribe free on Twitch, or if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And if you're watching this back as a podcast, you can go over to the Wargamer Patreon and support the show because you guys are great. Okay, you ready? Because this is a pretty big one, and I think it's quite interesting. Last night, me and Scrivo were reviewing Marvel Crisis Protocol, the game. Okay? Not the game, sorry, just the miniatures.
Okay.
Just the miniatures. Okay?
Okay.
Right?
Where?
Pardon me? We did it on Twitch.
Where did
you can
you
watch
do
it back. We also did it on Friday.
I'm gonna watch it back.
Like, there was a lot. We didn't do any of the game, we just looked at the models. But the point is, James will be able to tell me better. In the game, there's a couple of characters like Thanos and Duma.
Yep.
Wait, hold on.
Dumami.
Okay. Who you... let me get this right, James. Is a three-player system, right? Where one person plays as, like, the god character.
Okay, so you're like the narrative game.
Yeah, one play, and then 2 people play their armies against the narrative person, right? Right, okay.
Yes.
Nathan, do you get that? Do you get what we're saying? Okay, so, like, you would play a normal team versus a normal team. But in this situation, those two normal teams would play against one god character, basically.
Yeah, sounds like Warcry. Yeah.
Okay. Is it like Warcry?
Yeah, sometimes you get to play against a monster or
Oh,
something.
you
Oh,
can
yeah.
fight a
Fun.
monster, yeah.
I did not know that.
Following.
I did not know that.
That's quite cool though, because you're also fighting each other and a monster.
And
Okay.
the monster, yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Right. David Smith said Nathan looks like the mushroom in his picture, which is fucking great. Okay, so I wondered if, because I've said this a lot on the show, and I've always said that I think the god mod. It's weird that we've got the gods in Age of Sigmar, right? Because it's weird that a couple of clan rats eventually kill Alariel, maybe.
Pick a bad guy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
9 times out of 10.
every time. So the challenge is if you wanted to accept it and which god you want to do, that us three go away independently and we write our own war scroll for one of the gods, which next week we have to know that 2 people are going to play their 2,000 point armies against.
Owen Jackson's Nagash.
Right? Does that make sense as something fun for us to do for next week?
So,
Yeah.
So it's got to be worth 4,000
points, basically.
Because it's taken on 2,000 point armies.
Okay, because then that'll be the aspect of a god, if that makes sense. So basically, the story is right now that what's happening is we're fighting against like a kind of an illusion of the god, or like just a shadow of the god, like he's not really paying attention, like Archeon's on his dragon just being like, oh, I've got to sort these accounts out, where are all the plague bearers, like what's going on? He's kicking a few and he's just kicking a few people in a game, and when you kill him, you don't really kill him, you just kind of annoy him enough that he leaves. This would be the 2,000 point version of that. It's 4,000 point version of that. So, like, what is full, enraged, engorged Archeon like for next week? So,
for next
whole week.
Yeah, fine. Gonna write
Okay,
the
well,
best
so
war
now I
scroll
need to
ever.
know which god you guys want to do.
Oh.
Okay.
What are my choices?
You're allowed
Give
any
me the
gods. We might have a special guest on to do the fourth god, maybe.
The 4th god?
I'm not doing corn before the chat.
No, so you have to do a model that's already out, basically.
Okay.
Sorry, I know you wanted to do Gork or Mork, Dave.
No, I was going to do the Bad Moon. That's the god that...
4,000 points.
Fight the Bad Moon. It's just the Death Star from Star Wars.
Fire when ready.
No, so it has to be one of the gods. So the gods are obviously, I mean, Archeon's technically not a god, but I guess you could choose any of like the legendary lords if you wanted, right? If that helps you. So who do you want to pick? Nathan, I guess you could choose, if you wanted to do, you could do Godrak if you wanted to, and like the Fist of Gork. Like, we assume he's really not playing at full power in the current game, basically. Or even Scraggy. Like, maybe we're not seeing full power Scraggy. Like
4,000 points.
James, you got anything you might want to pick? I mean, you could do 4,000 points Celestin Prime, I guess. Like, you're doing Kragnos. Okay, go in Destruction. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Nice.
Just because I'm going to take it before Nathan does.
Mean. Really mean. 4,000 point Kragnos. That's a lot of new rules, James.
So I'm going to just copy and paste the dragon one.
What about you, Nathan? Who do you want to go for?
Yeah, go on then. I'll do Gordrak.
Oh, okay,
First
good.
to Gork.
All right. I think I'll do a Lariel. That's I think a challenging one. So I'll try and do a Lariel basically, or it's an easy cheating one. I'm just going to make us summon shit tons of stuff every turn.
But that's not the same. You have to fight one person.
It's 4,000 points. You can do that. Like, you can have Kragnos summon fucking Gits. He's not
Kragnos
summoning.
ain't summoning.
Okay.
You don't need to summon. No.
No, all of his folk are dead.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's gonna. He doesn't want extra. He doesn't want to share the
Right.
fight with anybody.
He's
Yeah,
going to
just-
beat your Ilariel, though, just saying.
They're not meant to play each other, but maybe they could. So we'll do that. How does that sound? Does that sound fun for next week? Yeah.
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 Okay, cool. So I thought that'd be really fun to look at, and we'll do that for next week because I very much doubt there'll be a new battle tome out by then. So let's do that instead. So it'll be good. Hopefully Dan will join us. I'd love to do Croak. That'd be fun. Croak's also a good suggestion. Ooh, like powered up Croak. Oh shit, I've chose the wrong one. All right.
You can change you're the host.
Yeah, just fire me.
We'll just fire
that
you.
would that'd be great. What do you? Goodbye. Thank you, Twitch chat. Thank you, YouTube thugs. Thank you, podcast Hydro homies. Thank you, Nathan and James. Would either of you two like to do a shout out before we leave today?
I'm going to shout out my new Warhammer hero, Ewan Hogg.
I'd like to follow that up, please. The Ewan Solidarity Fist for Ewan. Thanks, James. Nathan?
Yeah, I'll shout him out as well.
And guess what? That's 3 for 3. Yeah?
Ewan.
3 for 3. Ewan.
Club night. Ewan.
Thank you, Twitch chat, for tuning in. You've been great. See you guys soon.